Hey everybody! Welcome to a special edition of DC Action Hour! Bam! Pow!
Bam! Pow!
Pow!
Kazam!
Alright, hey everybody, my name is Jeff from Super Geeked Up. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is our special post-Dragon Con episode. We really appreciate you tuning in. If you're watching live, you can participate in the live chat we got going on YouTube, or you can tweet us at Super Geeked Up. We always love hearing from you. We want to share your thoughts. If you're watching live right now, this is a totally new system if you watched our show before. So we're trying to, this new thing, cooler way to broadcast here. So number one, actually tell me if you're hearing everybody. That would be a great help if you're in the chat right now as I introduce these other people, and besides just me, even though I know you love hearing me talk. My co-host as always is Mark's Pile.
Hello everyone.
Hello sir, it's good to see you. It's been a while. Well, not really, but it's been a while since we've done this show.
Yeah.
All right, we have two special guests that I met at Dragon Con. They're awesome. I was on some panels with them. From the Arrow Squad podcast, Cammien Ray.
Hi, I'm Cammie.
Hi, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And from the Old Titans podcast, Jon-Paul Estes.
Howdy.
Hi, I hope I said your last name correctly.
Oh, close enough. There's been so many variations.
Okay, cool. All right, welcome to the show. So I met Jon-Paul and Cammie, like I said, at Dragon Con. We had a great time doing a lot of these DC-type panels there. And we'll talk more about Dragon Con in a little bit, actually. But first, Marks, we want to kick it off, actually, with some Wonder Woman talk, right?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So, folks, we ended our season, in late May when all the DC CW shows ended. And if you're new to our show, that's what we do. We talk Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow. Every week we talk about the new episodes. So we haven't done it since they ended their seasons. So we haven't got to talk about Wonder Woman, actually, because it came out after they ended. So that's exciting. And then we're going to talk some predictions about the upcoming seasons. There's actually been plenty of news since we did our episode in May. Lots of new casting stuff. Like teasers from the producers and stuff about what's coming up these seasons. Listeners may just join us in the chat. Hello, Anthony. Please tell us if you're hearing everybody. But yeah, let's kick it off with Wonder Woman. That was actually a very popular topic at Dragon Con, to be honest with you. There was, like we talked about in the DC panel, there was 2 panels just about Wonder Woman. Anyway, so you know what? Why don't we let our guests go? How about this? So, Cammie, I know actually you had some really cool stuff to say on some of the panels. I guess just in general, though, like what did you feel about Wonder Woman?
I loved it. I mean, which comes as no surprise, but I think what came so much as heartwarming surprise to me was just seeing how much everybody else loved it. You mentioned the panels we had at Dragon Con. It was so cool to see, even on like the Monday morning panel on the last day when everybody's like there as a zombie, and we still like had so many people there just so excited to talk about it. And it was really cool to see that it's not just like me inspired by it. So many people, all ages, guys, girls. That's what I liked about it. Sort of how universal it was.
Absolutely. Great point. By the way, in the chat, listeners says, I hear the pretty lady. I'm assuming he means me, so thank you, Anthony.
Yeah. Jeff, I hear you too.
Okay, great. Good. He might mean Cammie, possibly. So, Jon-Paul, what did you think of Wonder Woman?
Oh, absolutely loved it. And finally, all my friends who are more Marvel fans didn't get to make fun of me after a DC movie was released, so that felt good, I have to admit. But no, it was absolutely everything I could have hoped it would be. Even to bring in a tear to my eye in one scene that seemed to be the scene that everybody, teared up at in the middle of the movie. It just, it was fantastic.
Awesome. Mark, we only talked about this briefly on a Facebook, I think, or something, but I think you really liked it, you said, right?
Oh, yeah. I think it was the best DC movie since Christopher Nolan Batman movies, at least.
Oh, easily.
Yeah,
sure. Yep.
And I would put it in probably within the top 5, just because of some of the classics. They always age well, still, like some of the classic Superman and Batman movies. But yeah, it was great. It was very appealing to everyone. They didn't dumb down any of the characters to make any characters look strong, and she felt very different than some of the characters we've seen before, and had a lot of depth to her that I think lately Superman and Batman haven't really had in the movies. my feeling. So it was an awesome action too.
Sweet. In the live chat, Lister's Mate says, "I hear all of you. Thank you very much, Anthony. Appreciate it. Victory."
Are you watching this at Walmart?
Yes, Norbert, he likes to do that. Norbert Franz just joined the chat and he says, "Hello, Super Geeked Up." Hello, sir. Norbert's actually, remind me, Norbert. I think it was Germany, some country in Eastern Europe, I think. But remind me where you're at right now. He's a loyal follower of us. Thank you, folks. By the way, if you're watching in post or live, if you saw us at DragonCon, any of us here, thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in. I had an awesome time. I'm sure Cammie and Jon-Paul did as well there.
I had a blast.
Yeah. So thank you for tuning into our show. Norbert says, "I saw Wonder Woman 3 times, and I know someone who saw it at least 8 times. Whoa, wow. That's a lot.
Wow.
That's cool.
That is a lot.
Yeah, you know what? I really dug the movie too. It's nice. It was nice to get, a hero who you can really get behind, who's just so good and has great ideals and wants to do the right thing, and kind of just, I don't know, because we've been getting a lot of darker characters, right? Particularly with the DC universe. So it's nice to get someone a little brighter and yeah. Is there somebody you can like? That's who I think, who actually a young boy I think asked this question at the panel, something about like if young girls would be a role model, right? And I was saying like I think it's actually a role model for everybody, and I think you kind of just mentioned that too, Cammie.
Yeah, that universal appeal of it. I mean, of course, it's very important that Wonder Woman is a woman. That's really exciting and relevant to her character, and it's part of her character and her characteristics and her upbringing. But her take on what it means to be a hero and her heroic sort of ideals are very accessible to everyone, all ages, guys, girls, and it's something to look up to. And she's not just a hero for girls, but it's very important that she's a hero for girls. But it's for everybody. And I like the point Mark's made about it being up there with a lot of the movies that age really well. Obviously, we won't really know that until this movie does age. But I think we all kind of get the feeling that this one will age well. This will stay a classic.
Yep, I think so too. Yeah.
I hope so. Folks, if you're watching, I'm sorry. We lost Jon-Paul. He's actually in Florida in the kind of the hurricane area. So first off, our thoughts to everyone down there in that area. We hope you're safe. But he warned us this might happen. So I'm just readjusting now the feed because Cammie kind of got split there into 2 different
did I?
windows. That's right. You multiplied like your
superpower,
like you said. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. I mean that's part of my powers, but it's okay if you want me to not do that. I'll try to keep control of it.
Yeah. Could you knock it off, please, and just wait?
Yeah. Okay. I'll stop splitting into 2. I'll just stay in my nice form.
She just splits. It's Cam, me. It's just
yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we got it all set up now again, folks. All right. So, how about? Is there anything you guys didn't like about Wonder Woman? There are a couple small things I thought they could have done better. But what about you guys? Is there anything you didn't like, or thought they could have done better? Cammie, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean it's really hard to come in with negatives because there's so much I liked about it. But it was a near perfect movie, but not entirely perfect. I really like to point that one of the people in the audience at one of our panels made about how the final moment and the final battle, her battle against Ares, is kind of instigated by Steve's decision, and it's really easy or Steve's sacrifice, right? It's very easy in that moment to sort of interpret it as her reacting to a lover's death, which is not really what I hoped the big moment of the movie would be. And I think what they were going for there was that she is reacting to human sacrifice, to seeing a good human sacrifice himself for heroic reasons, and she's inspired by that and wants to save humans, and that's how I interpret it because that's how I want it to be. But I think it's really easy to interpret that big moment as sort of a reaction to a couple-day romance, and that's sort of my one big critique with the movie, is that final battle with Ares is instigated in kind of an odd way to me. What did you guys think?
Marks?
I mean, I was okay with it because it's done all the time with male leads and female characters. So, I mean, I think it was. I mean, what struck me most around that time, I can't remember what happened first now, but whenever she killed who she thought was Ares, and then she realized that didn't stop everything instantly, and so that was a nice thematic element to talk about. But it's always tough with a showdown with a big villain who's been mysterious and you haven't seen him during the whole movie, and then they pop in. It's hard to pay that off sometimes.
Right.
But I thought they did a good job making you, at least until up to the end, not really realize who Ares was. So that was well done.
Yeah.
By the way,
So
I'm
welcome
back.
back, Jon-Paul. Yeah, and folks,
Yes.
folks, one thing about this new system is, unfortunately, when we lose Skype calls, I have to readjust things. So just bear with me. I will do this as we go along here. So we're still talking about Wonder Woman, Jon-Paul. And folks, if you're watching, let us know what you think about his new streaming method. I actually have some cool other stuff I can show you later on, different screens we've set up when we talk about the different shows. So the main thing, I think, Cammie, maybe you were hitting on this. I'm sorry, I was kind of doing technical stuff at the same time. But the thing I didn't like the most about it is I wish she and Steve did not have any romantic stuff. I wish they were just friends.
Yeah.
Number one, I felt it was way too rushed. They didn't do it. If they were going to do it, they didn't do enough setup for it.
Right.
And I just, and obviously it was done tastefully, whatever. They just, they were in the apartment, they faded to black. But I really was like, oh man, I didn't wish they didn't do that. Like, it didn't feel necessary to have, she's a character, there didn't need to be any romance. Like, she's fine without that. She's so awesome, So, and I feel like that's kind of the one area where maybe they fell onto standard tropes, right? Or standard things that movies do in Hollywood. Right. And I still think, you still could have had her still care about Steve that much and be really hurt by losing him without her, being his lover.
Yeah, it could have been like an attachment as a partnership, and where he's her attachment to humanity, but not necessarily in a romantic way, especially because they did set up their connection with her so eloquently, pointing out to him that men weren't always necessary in that particular scene. And it would have been an interesting follow-up if he had remained that strong of a connection to her as sort of a partner, and it had been like her connection to humanity in a non-sexual way.
Yeah, it did feel like, though, they were trying, I was going to say, throughout the whole thing, they were trying to connect a lot of the past Wonder Woman stories and trying to make sure to touch on, the made of clay, the not made of clay, the this, the that, Etta Candy. They brought in so many pieces. Steve Trevor was always her Lois Lane. I mean, so it was almost like they felt like they had to touch on every one of those pieces.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's why they felt like they had to have a romance in there with that character, because of the history of that character, and because they're not going to stay in that period, so he's going to die either way. Yeah. so I think that's
get it
why.
while you can, I guess.
Were you guys? I was actually surprised they killed him off. I kept expecting somehow to be like, oh no, he really ejected or something. He's not really dead. But no, he was dead. I was like, I actually kind of respected that. No, they killed him. Mm-hmm. Wow. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lois Lane is next. No,
Lois Lane. Oh, jeez.
No.
I kind of expected them to make him an older character in the present time. Sort of a head of an Argus or something in the movies. One of those kind of organizations, because they've done stuff like that. But yeah, it was good that they went all the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some people at DragonCon mentioned the kind of the last fight kind of became a big CGI fest, like a lot of other movies, and they didn't appreciate that as much. What did you guys think?
I mean, it was a CGI fest, but because of her, this isn't Batman, this isn't Iron Man, this isn't going to be like a human using tech. This is a demigod, and so it's kind of necessary for that to have those powers. It can't be the gritty street fight that we might expect with human fighters. So I was okay with it, and I thought that the CGI was quite pretty, and by that point in the movie, I had already bought into it. We had already, as Jon-Paul pointed out, gone through the big scene that makes everybody cry, the No Man's Land scene. Hopefully that's not too much of a spoiler. If anybody watching this hasn't seen Wonder Woman, stop this, go watch Wonder Woman.
Lister's mate says he hasn't. He says he feels bad he hasn't seen it. Don't feel bad, sir. And
oh, no. You get to see it for the first time. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think it's got to come out really soon. I think on Blu-ray and video, right? It's about that time.
Yeah, 10 days.
Oh, all right, cool. There you go.
Because they had already had quite memorable moments in the middle of the movie. I had already bought into it, that by the time they do get to the big final battle, which does require a lot of CGI, I was immersed in the fantasy at that point and willing to accept the CGI. But I think that may vary per viewer. What about you guys?
I thought it worked fine, and the visual for Ares was about as close as you could get to the comic version of it without making it look silly. So I was right there. You're right. By that point, you're fully bought into everything. So
Yeah.
you're just in the moment.
Yeah, I thought it was a good balance because I felt like Man of Steel was way too CGI dependent, and their fight scene was way too long, and whereas this was not so long, and it was built up to this big fight, and I think it paid off pretty well.
Yeah, I'm
Personally.
And you know, and there was actually some really cool kick-ass fight scenes in this movie peppered throughout, which was awesome. I also really liked the fact that she was a character. I mean, some people kind of call it a fish out of water, but she was a character that like she didn't really understand the world of man, and she had all these like the way she particularly early on with Steve and these questions and the way she interacted with him. I just thought worked really well, and it was just awesome, and again it's kind of fun just seeing her interact with him, and it was nice to see something like that.
Yeah.
Such an interesting contrast to see then in the beginning and end of the movie when you flash forward and you see the current version of her, and she's not only is she familiar with the world of man, she's essentially like a scholar of the world of man by being in the role that she is, in the occupation that she is.
Yeah. Oh, I love that she knew all these languages, right? That was super cool. That was a nice touch. I don't know if that happens in the comics or not, but I was like, that's really cool. That makes sense.
I think it does. Yeah.
Sweet.
Oh.
All right. Oh, we're losing Jon-Paul again. Oh, that's
He's gonna make you work, Jeff.
Okay, folks. By the way, if you are watching in post, if you're not watching us live, I did actually. The one thing cool about this new method we're using, I have put the live chat, so you can actually see everybody's comments from the live stream, which you never got to see before. So you can check that out.
Oh, cool.
Cool. All right. So, any other thoughts about Wonder Woman that we haven't covered?
Hopefully, more of the DC movies will be of the same level of quality moving forward. So, we'll see.
Yeah. Put her in everything. Put her in.
I think they're going to put her in everything now. At this
Milk
point,
it for all it's worth.
I heard that they're going to add more of her in Justice League, more scenes, and yeah, she's their superstar right now.
Yeah, for good reason. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So,
is there anybody you want to see, like in this sequel, the Wonder Woman sequel, her go up against, or any certain characters?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I ask amazing questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
I apologize. I missed your question, actually.
He asked if there's anybody you really want to see Wonder Woman
fight. It's probably just dumb.
I'm sorry.
I was asking if there was any like certain villains or other characters you want to see in the sequel, the Wonder Woman sequel.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. Cheetah is always a popular one for her. I don't know. Ares had some kids, so maybe they'll pop in, some enemy gods.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know a whole lot of Wonder Woman villains, to be honest.
Yeah. I would definitely like to see more. I know she already fought Ares, God of War. I want to continue to see her fighting gods because I think that's what's going to be a really good, formidable opponent for her and make for some really good fight sequences if everybody's willing to sort of buy into the CGI, which I am. And I would like for that to come with a lot more of the sort of Greek and Roman god lore. I think that would be really interesting. And somebody pointed out at one of our panels that the Greek and Roman god lore that they had included in this movie was also kind of mixed in with a lot of sort of history of sort of Christianity with the whole creation of the universe type of thing. And I would like to see it go more the Greek and Roman god route. I think that would be interesting to get more into that and not intersperse it with like Western history quite as much. I don't know.
Oh, I agree.
No,
I study ancient history. That's where my degrees are in, so I love all that Greek god.
Yeah.
And Roman god stuff.
The only problem is they killed all the gods off. Apparently, in the story, Ares killed them, at least all the main gods off. So it took away a lot of main characters.
Yeah.
Although they could play, they had a crossover once, like War of the Gods or whatever it was called.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought in other mythology of gods and trying to take over, and that might be interesting. Like if there's like the Egyptian gods or the Norse gods can make an appearance, or a bunch of kids. Yeah, or a bunch of kids from the gods. So
yeah.
All right, Jon-Paul, you're killing me here with this tech stuff. It's all right.
I have a feeling this will be the last time if I get disconnected again from the hurricane.
Yeah. First off, please be safe. I will ask if you get disconnected a third time, can you just leave it because I got to leave it like on my end to do certain things. Thank you.
Yeah.
But we hope you stay, obviously. All right. We were just doing our last thoughts on Wonder Woman. Jon-Paul, do you have any last thoughts you'd like to share?
Is there any villains you'd like to see in Wonder Woman?
I was asking about other characters or villains in a sequel you might like to see.
That gets more difficult because Wonder Woman, outside of Ares, the only other really good villain who's not really a villain is Hercules. At least when you go to the George Perez era, Hercules was the one who enslaved all the Amazons and did all sorts of terrible things with Hippolyta and all the rest. I don't know how much of that is in this mythology now, so I don't know if Hercules would work. But yeah, I'd stay with the Greek mythology side.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like to see a lot more of the
cool
Amazons, man, because they were awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Isn't there
Have
like
it all set on Themyscira.
does she have an arch enemy Amazonian? I feel like there's an Amazonian who's kind of a bad guy, right?
Isn't there Circe? Isn't it? That's
Circe.
Like the yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've used her in the animated
Sounds
shows.
That's right.
Yeah. Circe and Cheetah and Ares are probably the big three.
Circe would be a cool choice, actually, I think. That could be more Themyscira stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd work well.
I think that was a lot of people's sort of favorite part of the film is that opening on Themyscira. So I'd love for the sequel to return there.
Mm-hmm.
That was so good, man. I mean, they were so
Yeah.
kick-ass.
Yeah.
Oh, here's one final thought. I know you're not ready for DragonCon stuff, but maybe my favorite moment, individual little moment at DragonCon, was right before the Legion of Superheroes photo shoot. They were finishing up the Wonder Woman photo shoot, and there was a little bitty Diana sitting there posing, fighting, prep training style posing and fighting the other Amazons, and there was a little girl who looked just like Diana from the movies, and it was so precious. It was great. Just seeing the future geeked people is wonderful.
Aww. That sounds so cute.
That's adorable. In the chat, Norbert says, I didn't get one thing. If Hippolyta was pregnant by Zeus, that contradicts the earlier story where Hippolyta tells Diana that Zeus was already dying and created the island with his last power.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that? Explanations?
Gods never die. Movies have plot holes.
Nor do
Hippolyta lies a lot.
usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought in Greek mythology, aren't the gods really immortal? Will they not die? Or am I
Yeah.
completely wrong?
They're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's the whole point of them being a god, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Of course, the
I know,
gods
like,
killed like the Titans, which were like the gods before them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, Titans, they can come back. One of them, Cronus or whatever. Cronus? Kronos?
Good call, Kronos.
Yeah.
That is the
Yeah.
good job, Marks.
There we go. I'm spitting out ideas.
All right, cool. So that's Wonder Woman. Again, feel free to keep chatting about that in the live chat. Tweet us at Super Geeked Up. If you're watching in post, please feel free to comment underneath the YouTube or also tweet us. And all right, so Marks, now we're going to start talking about some of the DC shows in the CW that we do every week. And folks, will talk about like upcoming stuff for the new seasons, that kind of stuff. If you're not caught up on the most current seasons of all the shows, there are always spoilers in this particular show we do, folks, just as a warning right now, okay? But Mark, we're going to start with Arrow, right?
Yeah. How much we want to... This is different than a normal format, so how much do you want me to say? Like, anything that's in the news, free game?
Yeah,
Is that
anything
cool?
that's been in the news. Like, we just did the spoiler warning, so just let's start with like I mean I got a couple of points I think are interesting, but what do you got? What do you think? What do you want to talk about with Arrow coming up?
Well, I'm really interested in they have a couple of new season-long villains or potentially season-long villains. They're talking about Richard Dragon's one.
Yeah.
The actor, I really like the actor who's going to play him. He's been in Fringe and 12 Monkeys.
Kirk Acevedo, right? That's how you say his name?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. He's a very talented actor, and and Richard Dragon should be a really good villain. I don't know how much in depth we want to go. Let me hit broad points, and then we can go more in depth on stuff as with everybody talking. Is that cool? I know that he's going to have his own. I don't know if he potentially will create the villain team or not, but they have said there's going to be a team of villains. I'm assuming he's going to create the team based on the comic books. We know Anatoly's going to be back.
Yeah.
Very upset with things. Which I like that actor, as I've said many times. Jeff. Michael Emerson's going to play a big bad.
Yeah.
They haven't said who is yet. I'm going to assume, I'm just guessing that it's going to be tied in with Helix. It's going to be the guy they saved from Helix. I could be completely wrong, but it's yeah. And we got an FBI agent. He's going to be hunting for Arrow. We got Vigilante coming back.
Siren.
We got Black Siren, yeah, she's going to be back. Father issues with Arrow, including with Slade, dealing with his son.
Yeah.
And
they cast his son as well.
Yes, they cast his son, and we'll go more detail on that in a second. And then I know Roy Harper might make a return appearance based on a tweet that Colton Haynes said. I don't know. We'll see. And I really want Huntress to come back, but who knows? And Olicity is still a thing, Jeff. So.
Oh, interesting. I actually have a screen I'm just putting up all set for Olicity. So there, I know you guys can't see it, but on the feed. It says hashtag
really
Olicity, hashtag no Olicity. And it has a picture
anything with Felicity.
That was really fun to chat about at Dragon Con, actually. They had the panel take a poll of the room. I think you did that, Jeff, right?
I was moderating that. Yeah, I did it.
Yeah, that was really fun to see. Do you want to say which side won?
We might as well get in right on that. By the way, thank Anthony. I know you're giving me recommendations on the feed and the chat. Like we'll make adjustments after this. I know the chat's not super big, but if people are watching in post, they can just make a big screen. They don't need to be watching a smaller screen like you guys are when you're chatting. So I think it'll be okay. Right. But thank you for those comments. I appreciate it, folks. Thank you, Norbert, for watching as well. So Mark, so we have another co-host, by the way, Danielle, who couldn't join us tonight. But all three, none of us are big fans of Olicity. Right, Mark? I believe that correct? Am I speaking correctly for you?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah. So we're not big fans of Olicity.
No. So, no. Oh, no. They're wonderful.
Yeah.
They are.
But so, Mark, it was interesting. I moderated the Arrow panel, which was one of the first ones we did at Dragon Con in the track. And I was interested to see the poll of the room. So I asked how many people, want to see Olicity come back. And almost the entire room raised their hand. And then I said, how many people don't want to see Olicity happen again? And me and two other people raised their hands. So
yeah.
So we are, at least for the Dragon Con audience, we were in the vast minority. One thing that's cool about Dragon Con, though, is from Cammie and Jon-Paul and other people, I actually heard opinions that I did not think about before, which I like doing because it makes me reevaluate things. So actually, I'm appreciating that you guys are on the show to express these different views. Because it's actually kind of odd how much Marks and Danielle and I agree on this show. So Marks, apparently there's obviously a big support for Olicity out there. Jon-Paul, where do you stand? Do you like Olicity or no?
Well, first, Olicity aside, any scene that has Felicity in it, I'm there. I love it. She's my favorite character across all 4 shows, hands down. From her first scene in the first season, I don't know why she's infectious, and he can get so dark on his own. I prefer a lighter superhero show. Not that I mind dark, but I prefer a little bit lighter, and she provides that light to Ollie's darkness. So I just think they work well together. So if you're not going to have the classic Dinah Lance, Green Arrow, Black Canary romance from the comics, then yay, Olicity.
All right. In the chat, May says, I have a love-hate relationship with Felicity. So I think I kind of know what you mean, sir. So, John-Paul, I would have totally agreed with you at seasons 1 and 2. Felicity was my favorite character on Arrow. I loved her. And now she's become one of my least favorite characters, who I almost want to have to leave the show, actually, at this point.
Ouch.
Yeah. So, but the reason is, I think if they kept it like it was when they were just friends, and they had all that awkward dialogue, and she kind of was doing this awkward flirting, she wasn't really mean to be flirting. That was really fun and awesome. And as soon as they did the romance, I think it just killed it. I think that was a bad step. I didn't like it, and I don't know. For me, I guess it made her character too much about her relationship with him, and I think her character was cool on her own. She was just she was like one of the smartest people on the freaking earth, the best hacker, right? She was awesome with tech stuff, and she was funny, right? And she was quirky and funny, and I think they just got away from that. Actually, I don't know if somebody else, one of the panels, I don't know, so many panels we did. Somebody else said that, I think, one of the panels. But I feel they kind of got away from that, and they made it all about the relationship between them. You know?
Yeah. Oh, I think I posed a theory at one of the panels. I said that I think those who are rooting for Elicity and those who are rooting against Elicity are actually rooting for the same thing, and it's just that we all want less drama, and we have different theories on how to achieve that, right? So those who don't want Elicity, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys want less of the drama, less of the crying, less of the baby mama fights, less of all of that, and you want more of the action stuff, right? And you want more of like, everybody's on the same team, nobody's fighting and yelling at each other and crying in the corner. And I think for me, rooting for Elicity, I'm rooting for that too, because I think that the least amount of drama for this team and for this couple is when they're together. So with romance, you're either writing towards the romance or away from the romance. And at the points where they've been writing towards the romance, which is seasons 1 and 2, where they're increasingly growing closer together, better trust, better all that, right? There's not really much drama there. You know, they're just developing trust, getting closer together, and being a kick-ass superhero team. And it's the points where they're having fight issues and trust issues and I don't know if I love you or not and all that sort of stuff. That's where the drama comes in. Those are always the parts in the overall storyline where they're writing away from each other. If they were just to get together, okay, badass superhero couple, you know, and stay together and then have their own individual storylines and their own individual villains they're taking on and nemesis and stuff. I think my theory is both sides would appreciate that more. I think we both dislike the same things. I don't know.
In the chat, Carrie Johnson says, "Driving, can't chat. I am listening." Okay, be safe, sir. Thank you. He says, and hate to Olicity. All right, he is not a big fan. Lister's Mate says, I mean, I really want to like Felicity, but on the other hand, I hate her as a character as well. She isn't like she used to be in the first 2 seasons.
They did put her through the ringer for a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah, and I say that.
It was so much drama, and she was always just like her and Oliver were arguing, and she was always pissed at him. And she wasn't like she was in the first 2 seasons. So I get what he's saying, and like I think that's part of my issues. Yeah. Marks, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like Felicity. I just don't like her and Oliver together very much. I don't think they make a lot of sense as a couple. They don't really have anything in common except they fight bad guys, but that's it. Her and Ray Palmer had a lot more in common. Other people have. I don't know. I just don't see a lot.
Barry Allen.
Yeah. And they've been together and didn't work out, and they've brought out bad sides to each other as much as they brought good sides to each other. I guess I just want to see a fresh relationship. Mm-hmm. And maybe if that doesn't work out, then they get back together. I just feel like there hasn't been, even though they broke up and she kind of moved on, we never really got to know the guy that she got to be with before he got murdered. I don't know. I just feel like they need to try to have other relationships, and if they come back to it, they can come back to it then. Did
you like him with the reporter he was dating?
No, I didn't like the reporter.
Yeah, me neither.
It was just a throwaway. It was a total throwaway relationship that season.
Yeah. I think both of the extra relationships were kind of throwaways there. Like, we never really saw the detective she was dating. We never liked the reporter he was dating. I guess my worry is if they were in other relationships, because this is already pretty much an ensemble show from however many heroes there are now on Team Arrow, if we were to add in extra love interest for the both of them, like, that's just going to go to, like, CW drama at that point. You know what I mean? Like, it's just going to be these side flings that we probably still won't like, you know?
Well, I think Mark might agree with me with. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jon-Paul.
I was gonna say, yeah, 'cause I think Cammie's right. We won't like him because they won't be able to give him enough screen time to develop them. They'll feel just like these two characters. They'll just be, they're there until that person gets another series on another network or something. You know,
right?
Just for a short period of time.
That's why they should not bring in any other new characters. I agree with you guys. Marks, I think you're with me on this, but you can tell me if he's going to get with anybody. First off, he doesn't need to be with anybody necessarily, but if he is, we want her with Dinah Drake. That's what I think makes sense.
I'll
Dinah Drake. Oliver and Dinah Drake.
There's been no attempt in doing that in the script at all, but it would be nice to see if they can make it work organically.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's where I want to go if he's going to be with anybody.
Yeah.
I think if they were to do that, that would be a little bit of a character assassination move against Dinah, though.
Yeah.
Because at this point, Dinah's such a strong... Sorry, I feel like I interrupted you, John.
No, go ahead. Keep on.
Okay. At this point, Dinah has been... I mean, she's going into this because she's trying to avenge a past romantic arc that we never saw. We already know that she's getting a love interest brought in for this season as well. And she's been so... she's not necessarily attached to Oliver's crusade for his sake. She's not just there to support him. She kind of has her own heroic interest, her own morals as a hero, and she is her own hero. And I'm not really sure that writing her romantically with Oliver would really serve that agenda. I think it would be a little bit of a step backwards for her. Yeah, I don't know.
I know. Well, I agree with that. Like, I don't think she needs to be with anybody romantically. I think she's my favorite new character. I think she's awesome. She's been given very little to do, and she's made that character awesome, I think, with that. So I totally agree with you. She doesn't have to be, but if they're gonna put him with anybody, like, I just don't know. I feel like she makes the most sense. But I actually agree. I don't think anybody needs to have all these romantic stuff going on. Like, I think they're doing too much.
But it's the CW. There's no way around that.
And I've always said, in my opinion, comics have always been the soap operas. If you go back 50s, 60s, 70s, it was the soap operas for teenage or preteen boys. It's just they couldn't call them that. So the relationships were always there. They can't get away from it. And I mean, here I am, almost a 50-year-old guy, and I still ship all these different characters and love it. I'm unapologetic, and I'm a Dawson's Creek fan and all the rest. I'm sorry, I love it.
Oh man, no, dude, I love Dawson's Creek early on.
Yeah. And I think, especially with these characters, one of the things you pointed out, Marks, which was a really good point, which is that they fought so much, and I don't think anybody really enjoyed seeing that. In fact, they even had, side characters comment, they don't like when Mommy and Daddy fight, I think was a throwaway line they had in Season 5, and we all kind of agree with that, right? But these are characters that are being written. It's not like real-life people who can't avoid fighting. They could just write them not fighting each other anymore and write them the way they were back in the early days when she was one of the first people he ever trusted with his secret, and she was who he went to when he was deathly injured, and that deep trust that they had before. They can write that. They can write that playful banter. They can write that light and dark contrast that I think we liked. They don't have to write the fighting. I don't think anybody wants that. That's really uncomfortable to watch for those two characters to fight. It's not very pleasant.
No, it is. And I think it made her look bad. Not that he was faultless or anything, but keeping a secret of his kid is kind of somewhat understandable in the situation. It was made into almost a joke because he told everybody else at some point. That was kind of bad. But I thought her reaction was a little unfair. It played out as unfair, and it made her look bad. And because we saw more of his side, I think, of it all, and I think that's what hurt her character in our eyes in some ways. Plus, they missed a super great opportunity with her where she was in a wheelchair, and they could have really done a lot of character development from that, and they just threw it away. I think if they're going to have Black Canary ever get in a relationship with him, I think you should spend a good seasonal arc of developing that organically in some way with different scenarios that makes it happen, or just throw them together. And I think it's not necessarily a bad thing that she's got her own crusade too, because I think that makes her a stronger character than him just getting his sidekick falling in love with him. Basically, it's like a fan person suddenly falling for their celebrity icon, and that's kind of a weird dynamic too. I don't know, but
well, and I mean, it's the traditional, obviously, Green Arrow and from the comics and Black Canary, right? So it'd be kind of nice if they eventually get there with some Black Canary in him, you know.
And that's why we want, or some of us would like her to be, because it's in the comic books. I mean, otherwise, I guess I wouldn't care either way who she was going to get in a relationship with. I still wouldn't want.
Are like the quintessential like character traits of the Green Arrow Black Canary relationship in the comics? Like what's the dynamic aside from the names? Like what's the specific dynamic that's like really lovable about them in the comics? Like to you.
So let's go over to Jon-Paul because he probably knows at least more than me.
Yeah.
Well, they honestly, even though they've always been together, it's always been really an on again, off again fighting type relationship. She is the more leader. I mean, when Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman step away from the League, she's the person they turn to be the leader of the Justice League. That's how strong of a character she's seen by everybody in the whole DC universe. He is the, at least eventually they turn him into the ultra liberal hippie, against the man, against the rich. You know, he'd be the one out there not having that kind of responsibility. So she's the stronger of the two, and she keeps him in line, but he always ends up pushing against that line just far enough that they break up. Yeah. Then there's enough passion to get back together. Then they break up, and back and forth and back and forth. Yeah. I don't see it ever lasting, but also never going away. It's just that's who they are.
It's Olicity.
It kind of does sound like the worst character traits from Oliver and Felicity. It sounds like the parts of the story where Oliver and Felicity were written the worst. So that's kind of my hesitancy to see this version of Oliver be with any version of Black Canary, because I feel like for a while maybe they sort of toyed with injecting that sort of vibe into Oliver and his current relationship with Felicity. And I don't think we really like that. I think that may translate really well in the comics because it's kind of fun there maybe, or kind of bantery. But when we see it on screen, we're like, oh, this is really irritating. It's like a soap opera, right? And we maybe don't like that. So I think whatever relationship they do go with, which I think will be Oliver and Felicity going forward, I just hope it's stable, just because I think that sort of on-again, off-again dynamic, which is what I thought was in the comics, that's kind of why I asked. I'm not really sure that translates very well on screen for most of us. Maybe for like younger kids, they might enjoy that more because it's like prom drama, you know?
Well, and part of the reality of why they do that in the comic books is because then they're going to go, oh, we're going to give Black Canary her own comic book, so they got to break up now, or somebody needs to go over to Justice League, so they're breaking them up so they can move them around. Yeah. But if they were in the same comic book broken up, it'd be awkward, kind of like Arrow sometimes can be.
Yeah.
Good points. And by the way, Black Canary is a great leader in the comics. I mean, she leads Birds of Prey, obviously, for a long time, which I love. And Marks and I really want a new Birds of Prey series.
I would love to see her in Birds of Prey, right? Bring back Huntress, get Black Canary.
Send Thea over there.
A couple other characters.
By the way, in the chat, Lister's Mate says he wants more Thea. I totally agree, man. That's what I really not like about last season. There was not enough Thea. I love Thea. Get her back in the costume. Come on.
Yes.
Well, you need more Thea, but I'm sorry. She needs to eat something. I mean, it looks like a good gust of wind is just going to blow her away. It's just
that's just the way her body's built.
I know, but to me,
Jeff is very thin. Jeff is very thin, but I can attest he eats a lot. So
you saw me at Comic-Con. How much I ate? Yeah.
The actress who plays Thea, Willa Holland, was at DragonCon, and at one of her panels, she was asked if she would like to be a part of an all-female team-up. They didn't use the term Birds of Prey, but it was I think the characters that they listed were Dinah, Felicity, and Thea. All team up sort of as Arrow ladies together and take on a mission. And she said, she was like, I don't know why that hasn't happened already. We need to root for that. And I think that would be so fun to see on Arrow, none of the guy-girl drama, and just have an episode where like there's like a lady-led mission. Lila, Dinah, Felicity, Thea, maybe bring back another. Did somebody mention Sin earlier? She was a really fun character as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be really fun to see.
I vaguely remember reading something that one of these shows is doing that. Maybe it's Arrow, that there is going to be like a girls.
It's Flash.
Flash is the Girls' Night Out episode?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. They need to do that in Arrow, too, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Just a one-shot episode, but still, it's something. And I don't know, maybe during their break, if enough of them wanted to do it, they could do a 2 or 3 or 4 episode thing for their new streaming service. I mean, that could be fun at least.
Ooh,
I would love that.
There we go. On the new streaming service, they can do a Birds of Prey show. That's where they can put it.
Yeah.
I would totally
Yeah.
subscribe to it then. All right. I don't know why they just don't listen to us every week when we do we have these great ideas. We tell them. So what about? Oh, go ahead, Max.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to ask. In one of the articles, they were saying like how the different characters, like Black Siren, be opposed to Black Canary, and Oliver, I guess, against Anatoly or maybe Richard Dragon. And they said Vigilante, but who would Vigilante be opposed against then? Like if they're trying to set one villain against one hero, kind of. That's the way they portrayed it in the article, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I'm betting Diggle.
Yeah.
Diggle? Yeah, that's what makes sense.
There's still a big mystery about who he is, and everybody's been hoping that some way they'd find some way to bring Deadshot back. That's been one of the leading theories, is maybe it's Deadshot, and they'll come up with a story way of explaining why he changed costumes. The real reason is, stupid executives at Warner Brothers. But
right.
that would give him a straight Diggle counterpart.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
Well, they said that he's got a very close connection to one of our series regulars, and that I really hope will blow the fans' minds.
Oh, it could be Deadshot then. Wow, you could have called it, man.
Maybe.
I'm hoping. It would work.
Well, that could be how it's going to be. I also took the whole team of villains references maybe in the comic books after New 52, the new Richard Dragon, which is the villain Richard Dragon. He created a team of villains called the Longbow Hunters to take on Arrow, and that team was which I'm sure won't be the same lineup if they do it. It was Count Vertigo, Clock King, Brick, Red Dart, and Killer Moth. I just kind of wonder if maybe this is a new take on the Longbow Hunters with maybe Black Siren, some other people.
Killer Moth. Whoa, he sounds dangerous. It's terrible. What a terrible name.
They've done talking gorillas on The Flash. They can do it.
Yeah, that's true. But that actually turned out really
Killer
cool.
Moth.
Grodd was really cool, actually. I think Grodd has always been cool, though.
Any talking gorilla is cool.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a talking gorilla. I just wish they weren't doing this version of Richard Dragon. That's my disappointment. Is Richard Dragon was always such a cool character, and New 52 just destroyed him. I hate that.
Yeah, it's I don't really. There's a lot of stuff about New 52 I didn't quite like, but yeah. The original Richard Dragon was a hero, in case people don't know, and he actually trained the Question, Huntress, Oracle. I think he even worked with Lady Shiva.
Batman.
I love all those characters. Oh, no wonder.
Yeah,
he's one of the best martial artists in the DC universe. So that makes sense. He trained all them.
So
Oracle with the sticks when she's in the wheelchair. I mean, he trained everybody.
Yeah, and so in New 52, this new Richard Dragon's my instructor taught me all this stuff, and I was screw him, and I killed him, and I took his name, and now I'm Richard Dragon.
But then,
that's great.
With Rebirth, did they go back to the original Richard Dragon, or they have?
I don't know.
We don't know yet. Maybe. Okay. So we hope. And maybe he thought he killed him, and he'll come back as a surprise later.
Possible. Maybe he trained Huntress too, and she'll return, because I really want Huntress to return.
Yes,
I would
Huntress.
love Huntress to return. That was one of my favorites.
My favorite comic book character is Huntress, actually.
Although he needs to train her in acting too. I'm sorry, the actress.
Oh my God, Jon-Paul Estes here. Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
I loved
her. She was
her.
good. I liked her a lot.
John-Paul
does not reflect the views of Super Geeked Up or DC.
See, if the actress currently playing Black Canary, if Dinah Drake, if that actress was doing Huntress in that same kind of persona, I would love her. She'd be the best. But I don't know. She was weak.
Come on, you only got a couple episodes.
With Huntress, they fell into that same trap where they put her in a somewhat romantic position, and I don't know that the show often writes romance very well. No offense. And I think that was kind of what hurt her, and also that can be quite, if the writing is kind of iffy there on where the character is, that can be quite difficult to play, I'm sure, for the actress. So that may be where the weaknesses may have come through. I liked the character of the Huntress, so I was quite forgiving in that area, though.
Yeah, they just made her.
Go ahead, Mark.
I just didn't like how Huntress, they made her really dark at the very end, because she crossed the line when she started shooting cops, for example, and also that plot line, it really bugged me in a way, because I didn't like how much of a hypocrite Arrow was during that whole thing, because he was killing people and he's like telling, don't kill people, and I'm like, what? You kill people, it's not even, she at least has a personal connection to this, and you act like that's bad, and it's like, oh, so cold-hearted assassin better? I don't understand. I don't think you have a lot of ground here.
I completely agree. I think it's really interesting to see how they determine who gets a redemption arc and who doesn't get a redemption arc. And I was a little bit salty about Huntress not getting a redemption arc. I think if someone like Oliver Queen can, go through that whole redemption era, I definitely think Huntress could have as well. And she would have been fun to have on the team, honestly.
Yeah.
I know. I really wish they'd bring her back.
Well, here's if I was traveling in the past as Flash, I would suggest the writers bring her back this season, and you find out that she's been trained by the real Richard Dragon, who pops in at some point to help out Arrow with this Richard Dragon. That's what I would do.
That'll work. Work.
Nice.
And then she and Thea team up and become like power superheroines together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And if her acting's not up to par to some people, they can recast her, because it's been like forever since she's been on there.
No, don't recast her. I really like who they had.
No, I do like her.
I will say this. I highly recommend. I'm sure y'all watched some of the Justice League Unlimited cartoon back when it was on.
Huntress in there? It's Amy
the best. Yeah, the best story, I think, in the whole thing is a standalone was Double Date, where you had Green Arrow and Black Canary, and you had the Question and Huntress, and that was such a fantastic pairing. It was perfect.
It was.
I'm with you, sir. Those Justice League and Unlimited are my favorite animated series, and Huntress and the Question are two of my favorite characters, so I just loved that. It was so good. That episode was so good. All right, so I think we established that Team Arrow should all just take a vow of celibacy for the next year, and then we'll be good, because there'll be no romantic relationships whatsoever. I think it's focused on other stuff.
Okay.
I know, I'm kidding. That's never going to happen. All right, that was a lot of Arrow. So we got some other stuff. We're going to talk about the other shows. Supergirl, Flash, Legends, I suppose we have to talk about. But first, let's talk to our guests real briefly, because they do some really cool stuff. So Cammie, let's start with you. Why don't you tell people about what your podcast is, where they can find all that good stuff. And I'm actually going to put a screen up here, folks, with all her links and everything for you while she talks about it.
A magic screen. I'm a co-host on a podcast called Arrow Squad with Golden Spiral Media, and we review Arrow every week. Our podcast is posted 2 days after the episode, and we've been doing this. The Arrow Squad podcast has been around the entire time Arrow's been airing, so there's like a bajillion podcasts, and I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Awesome. Sorry, I was muted for a second. Jon-Paul.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Why don't you tell people about what you do?
All right, we don't have a bajillion episodes, that's true, but I'm co-host on a podcast. I don't know if you have a graphic up for that, but the Old Titans.
Do.
All right, good. So the Old Titans, myself and a coworker, we discovered, we're sitting around every day at work at lunch talking about this exact same stuff that we've all been talking about here, filling our lunch hour. Why don't we start recording this? Bring in our friends from work. We have several other podcasts shot at UCF, and so each episode we focus on really kind of whatever the heck we feel like that week. It could be Arrow, it could be Flash, it could be Wonder Woman, it could be Walking Dead. We do a lot of Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. Whatever the geek topic of the week is, we definitely did MegaCon here in Orlando, DragonCon, previews and reviews. Again, it's just whatever geek topic just pops into our heads and that we can fit into a lunch hour at work. So that is the Old Titans.
That is so cool.
All right, awesome. Please check those folks out, their shows after this, folks. And we'll put all the links in the description section underneath the YouTube if you're watching in post. Kerry Johnson, by the way, says he's almost home. All right, awesome. So then you can watch it on your computer, not your car. He says, this chat has been awesome. Love the new streaming capabilities. Thank you, sir. I actually spent a lot of time trying to get this set up. We're using a system called XSplit Broadcaster to do this now, and still working out some of the kinks. But like you're seeing here, lets me share a lot of different screens and stuff, and have everybody on screen at once rather than Google Hangouts where we're all a little tiny except the person talking. So yes, let us know if you like it or if you have suggestions about how we can adjust things. I have a lot of different capabilities here. And your Patreon dollars went to help me do this, folks, so I have a computer that I can actually run this now. So thank you very much for your support, folks. We really appreciate you for Super Geeked Up, this show, or our Dungeons & Dragons Monday Night Mayhem show. If you'd like to contribute, because now I'm kind of broke because we did all this money on this, but if you'd like to contribute, you can go to supergeekedup.com. There's a link on the homepage, or to patreon.com/supergeekedup. Oh, that's what I got to create a screen for next time. Okay, good. We're going to put the Patreon stuff up. All right, anyway, but thank you very much, folks. You guys rock. And if you're just watching, obviously, we really appreciate it, too, or if you subscribe to us. All right, let's talk about Supergirl. Okay, so, yeah, you know what? Hey, guess what, Marks? That's exactly the shot I have up on screen right now. She's doing that. Good job.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't need to do that. I could have just left it on you.
You could have, yeah.
All right, so for Supergirl, hey, let's kick off with the. I think this is kind of cool. That one of the new castings is that from one of my favorite shows, Smallville, Erica Durance, who played Lois on Smallville, is coming on to take over the role of Kara's Kryptonian mom, Alara Zor-El, who used to be played by Laura Benanti. And there's nothing bad there, folks. She just got another job over in New York, I think. She's actually good. She's friends with Greg Berlanti and Andrew Kreisberg. She just couldn't do it anymore. So Erica Durance. So again, they're bringing in a former, Super Man X character from one of those shows, which I always enjoy when they do that. So I know I'm excited to see Erica Durance again. I thought she rocked it. She's actually my favorite Lois probably of all time. What do you guys think? I don't know. Do you guys watch Smallville?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cammie, did you watch it?
I didn't.
Oh, that's right. We had this Twitter conversation that we were trying to convince you to watch it. I forgot. That's okay.
Yeah. It was a younger time for me when it was on, so I wasn't
you weren't born yet.
Watching those then.
She's saying you're old, Jeff. You're old.
I'm trying to find a nice way to say I was like a child when it was first starting airing.
You're like, you guys are ancient. I'm young.
It's true.
No, it's fine. That's part of me being a super villainous is not watching the seminal works of our time.
All right, we'll march to Jon-Paul then. Are you? What do you think about Erica Durance coming on?
She was the best. She was absolutely the best Lois Lane. You're right. Right there with you. I wish she could stay around as a regular, not just the occasional appearance.
Yeah, that's only. She was a favorite of mine too. That's my only disappointment is she's not some new character. She's taking over for an existing character, and she probably won't be in there very much. So I kind of like to see her. But nice if she was some other character. I'm not sure what character, but some other character that was going to be on more often.
Well, I will say the character she's playing is actually two different characters, right? Because Supergirl's mother and aunt are the same person. They're played by the same person. That's not a spoiler, right? That's
no.
Been around.
No, that's revealed very early on in season 1, I think.
Okay. Just want to make sure that's okay to say.
For flashback stuff, you're right. She could play both roles in flashback type.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. So because of that, and because they will be obviously doing flashbacks because they also did recast Supergirl's flashback version of herself. So the show may have a little more of that. So we may get to see her play some interesting stuff there in the flashbacks. Maybe.
That I'm bummed about because I really liked. I think Malin Wiseman is her name. I really liked the young actress they had for Supergirl. But maybe part of it is that she's the lead now in Unfortunate Events. Lemony Snicket's on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
She plays Violet Baudelaire.
Yes, very good. That's right. Which I'm glad she got a leading role. That's great. She deserves it.
Yeah.
Maybe the hologram Matrix will go crazy and she'll like escape and become a villain, like a Star Trek thing.
Who, Erica Durance's character, you mean?
Yeah.
That could happen. That'd be nice. That'd be cool.
It could happen, yeah.
Well, and she could have a bigger part this year, just because of one of the villains they announced. I don't know. You said we are free to talk about whatever's in the news or whatever, right?
Folks, there are spoilers here, so as a warning.
Yeah. So they've said Rain. Rain is an Reign, not the other CW show though. But Rain is going to be either the main villain or one of the main villains for the season. And if they stick with the comic book origin, there's a whole her parents' involvement in the creation of the World Killers. So that could give Erica Durance a much bigger role this season.
That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I'd be all for that. So
Yeah, I think this season will be pretty...
Go ahead.
Oh, no,
Cammien.
sorry.
No,
I was just going to say, I think this season will be pretty family-centric. I know they were, even when they were talking about the crossover, they were saying that it'll be very, like, Supergirl sister-centric, right? And I think he was saying that they're going to try to do that sort of this whole season and return to that season 1 vibe of it being very, like, family-centric between the two sisters. So that should be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I also just saw today, or some of the links, Mark, you sent over, that I didn't know this, that Kat, apparently, from the picture they put online, is going to be the White House press secretary on the show, which should be a lot of fun. What do you guys think?
I'm so excited.
Should make for some fun scenes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for her to hear her answers to the White House press corps questions.
Well, we've lost the material for Saturday Night Live to have fun with that role, so maybe she'll fill in that comedy bit now for the White House. That could be good.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get to see more of the president in this universe. Linda Carter's playing her.
That'd be great.
I hope so.
Yeah, that'd be fun to see. I'm so excited. Kat is my favorite character on Supergirl, so I'm very excited about that and her role. So it'll be fun.
Nice.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun.
See, I don't know. She's another character I have a love-hate relationship with. Like, she's come around for me. Like,
I was waiting for somebody to say
it. But here's the thing. Again, at Dragon Con, man, people love Kat. Dude, they love her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people do, which is cool. I don't know. You know, just in season 1, there's so much stuff where she was just like, oh, she's so, like, mean and just, like, not nice at all to Kara. And then, but obviously, like, deep down, she really does care about her, right? And that's just the way she does things. So I get that.
Yeah.
And I get the relationship they built between them. So I warmed up to her somewhat. And she has some, good zingers that she throws out there. I don't know. I'm not totally on board with her.
She gets to be the voice of the well-meaning critics. You know what I mean? Like the ones who want Supergirl to be great but aren't going to be nice about it. And I think that voice was really necessary for this show because they couldn't have Supergirl have this like nurturing mommy boss. You know what I mean? Like we wouldn't root for Supergirl if she was put in that position. So it was really necessary for Kat to come across as mean, strong, all of that sometimes, so that we can get behind Supergirl and root for her in those situations. So I thought her being played that way was very, very necessary for Supergirl's sake.
And it's a different kind of... We haven't seen a lot of characters like Kat and such either, so she breaks tropes a little bit, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, I like her character. I think it'd be nice to have her back.
And I do hope if Superman comes back, which I think they said he's going to make at least another appearance this next season, some of the best scenes are Clark and Kat on screen together. They're just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hell yeah. All about that, man.
I want to see her ordering Superman around.
What? Like, go get me a milkshake or something?
I mean, not a milkshake, more just like, go solve this problem, go do this, fix that, defeat this villain, and just like in a really like dismissive and authoritarian way. And we'll all be like, oh my god, it's Superman, you can't talk to him like that, but she can.
Oh, wait, are you talking about Kat or Kara?
Kat.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Thank you.
No, Kara couldn't order around a fly, even still. No. Kara could not order Superman around. Someday she might evolve into that character, but not yet. Yeah. She's still cute little bunny.
They're cousins. They have a good relationship. They should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Kat could totally do that. You're right. But you know what I do love is Kat's flirting with Clark. Like I find it so hilarious. Like, and she's so obvious about it. And then I also love Kara's reactions. Like she wants to vomit every time that happens. Like that part I love.
You think we'll see Lex at all?
I don't think so this season. Maybe at the very end.
Yeah.
Maybe tease for next season.
See, I'm kind of conflicted. I don't know if Lex should ever be in the show, actually. I'm not sure. I mean, do you feel that if he does, it becomes too much about
Lex.
Superman and Lex, and not because he's not really Kara's villain?
It's possible, yeah.
What do you guys
But
think?
what?
About that?
Yeah.
Like, would you want to see Lex?
Yeah,
in the show?
if they could spin Superman off so he has his own show and use Supergirl the way they used Arrow for Flash, give Superman and Lex an episode and then spin them off together, that'd be okay.
I would love to
Would
see
you
Tyler
want a
Hoechlin do
Superman spinoff so soon after Smallville, though?
I would, since Tyler Hoechlin I think is perfect in the role, I would totally take it. Yes, because he's so amazing, and they wrote him so well. I think they just nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to do that anytime soon.
No, they're not.
No, I don't think so. But it would be wonderful.
Well, they could always. What if Superman's left the Earth before? What if he left Earth and then Lex Luthor took advantage of that, and then that Supergirl has to deal with him? See, that could be that could work. But I see what you're saying though, because sometimes I get a little bit like I'm worried that they're going to get lazy and then they're just going to throw Superman villains at Supergirl instead of having her own villains, and and that's a little frustrating sometimes. But I would just love to see who they cast as Lex. That's my main thing. I just would be really curious.
Bring back Michael Rosenbaum, best Lex Luthor ever.
You never know.
He was at Dragon Con. We should have told him to do it. Marx has actually worked with Michael Rosenbaum too.
Yeah.
Very cool. He's too old, but go ahead.
Oh. Did you just say he's too old? Man, he really hits these actors.
Jon-Paul is just like, your acting sucks. You're ancient. This terrible.
I was going to say, my choice is too old. The one I wish they could do Clancy Brown and bring him back, since he was the voice for all the Justice League Unlimited and Superman cartoon. But they've already used him in this Arrow, Flash, all that universe. And he's too old based on the age of Mom Luthor and such. So they that one. No, Rosenbaum is perfect age. Yeah, he'd be great.
Cool.
Because that's to be somebody within sibling range for Lena.
Yeah.
Because he's only supposed to be like a few years older than her, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What if they just did like a total Bizarro and it was Tom Welling as Lex Luthor?
Well, I learned at Dragon Con, Tom Welling is now he's in Lucifer or something. He's actually back in acting now, which is great.
Yeah.
Very happy about that. Anyway, we have some questions in the chat from listeners made about Supergirl. So one of them we already answered. What's Calista Flocker going to do? Say, hey, we already answered that. But he says, what's on the other side of the wormhole that Mon-El went through?
All right.
That's the one. Thoughts?
Yeah, that's the one. There you go. That's it. The Legion. And it's got to either be the Phantom Zone or a time portal to the future. It's quicker if they make it the time portal, but Phantom Zone works. But yes, bring in the Legion. We're just all waiting for, not maybe not everybody. I don't know if everybody here even, but all of us Legion fans are so waiting for the Legion to show up since they've been teasing it for so long. It's got to be there before the end of the season.
And my theory is that they were trying, for some reason they need help, and they were trying to get Supergirl, but they got him an accident. Because he got, Supergirl gave him something, I forgot what it was now. Right. And I think they zeroed in on that and got him an accident.
Could be.
Also wants to know, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, the only reason I think it could be Phantom Zone is that it is her ship, and her original trip to Earth, it malfunctioned and went into the Phantom Zone, so that could be what happened. But
that's possible.
A good way to circle back around to that, yeah.
In the live chat, Anthony also wants to know, is Jimmy going to find alien love? Well, Wynn sure did. I don't know if Jimmy will. Jimmy has actually no love whatsoever once he had that 30-second relationship with Kara.
No, he's apparently an awful kisser.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know what they're gonna do with Jimmy. Like, I don't think they knew what they were doing with Jimmy most of last season. So then they tried the Guardian thing, which I wasn't so keen on. But then I was okay with it.
It kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like the editor thing. I guess they didn't like. We don't know what to do with him as the editor. So I don't know. I like Jimmy. Yeah. I hope they do something cool with him.
Yeah.
I kind of thought what they were going to do with him is have him replace Kat Grant's position when she had to leave because she didn't follow them to the CW quite as much. But when he didn't do that, I think they really lost their way with him, and then they just tried to give him sort of a generic hero story. I don't know. They've really made some missteps with James, unfortunately, and I think I'm hoping in the absence of Mon-El, if we have an absence of Mon-El, they'll refine their footing with James.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, and Listeners Mate also wants to know, will there be a battle between Livewire and Supergirl this season? Well, there has been other 2 seasons, right?
Right.
I think that's just there's always gonna be a Livewire episode every season.
Yeah.
She's cool. I dig that.
Yeah.
Any other comments you guys want to think about Supergirl or other stuff we haven't talked about the new season?
Well, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do about the Maggie Alex.
Yeah.
There I am.
Oh, right. By the way, that was the one prediction I nailed. Like I predicted before it happened that one of them was going to propose to the other.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite. That's my favorite part about Supergirl, their relationship. That's the best thing I think they do on that show, and it's very well written. Their relationship.
Yeah, it is.
It's like so like you said, Cammie, maybe some of the Arrow, and they need to take some.
Arrow, take some romance notes. Like have a stable relationship, have a proposal, have things like not include like breakups every other episode. That would be lovely.
Yeah, no, they've shown that in some of the clips so far for the preview for the new season. Some of the stuff you'd sent before. The only thing that's negative, and hopefully they don't go the wrong direction, is I heard that the actress who's playing Maggie has another job somewhere, so they're going to be toning down her role quite a bit. As long as all they do is just she's not on screen as much, but they don't change it, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she'll be recurring instead of a regular.
Yeah. Right, because she actually turned down the regular role this season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they said that she's not going to die. So
right.
That's good.
Well, in the
relief.
in the videos that they put out for the new season, she's in it with Alex still. They're like kind of on this, I don't know, some kind of like, supposedly it's a date, but they're actually solving a crime or something, it look like. But it looks like they're still together, so that's good.
Yeah.
I have a quote.
I was just dreading that they were going to have them like split up at the start of this new season. I was like, no, stop it.
I have a quote. You want me to read it real quick?
Oh, please do.
Okay,
so it pertains to Supergirl and not just a random quote.
It's a random quote. Well, Abraham Lincoln once said, said unfortunately she decided to move on, which left us with how do we write her out as a regular while still honoring these two women who are deeply in love with each other. Taking a page out of some of our own personal dating history, we've come up with a story that we really feel like honors what's come before them. It honors how much they love each other, how much they mean to each other, and how much they've changed each other's lives. Some of the most emotional stuff we've done, and Floriana,
Lima, right?
Floriana
has been so good in these first 5 episodes, and yeah, it's some heartbreaking stuff. So
is that one of the executive producers saying that?
Oh yes, I'm sorry, it's Andrew Kreisberg.
Kreisberg, okay. Okay, well, I mean that's a bummer, but as long as they handle it well, yeah. You know, I'll say that Floriana Lima is she's an awesome actress, man. There's so many like stuff she did last season. I think it was just great. Like, she's very talented.
I think they had a tough situation cut out for them where they were going to have to create a romance from scratch without having characters from season 1, and I think that's really daunting, especially on a new network and everything like that. And I think they did a great job with what they had, where they kept it up to speed and they didn't like drag things out really slow, but they didn't just like rush and be like, oh yeah, Alex has a girlfriend now, cool, yeah. You know, like the pacing of it was nice for what they had to work with, which is really good. And the actors or actresses had good chemistry and they sold it really well. So it was really a pleasant romance to watch, which was better than I expected, because often these shows don't have pleasant romances to watch, right?
No, it's been really well done.
Yeah.
So, you know, so it must fall apart. Because it's drama.
In the chat, Kerry Johnson says, I'm home. All right, awesome. And he says, if they can't find a legit story for James, they should just let him go. Give Snapper Carr more screen time. I'm all for that. And let Kara be a reporter sometimes.
Cool. Those are all good comments. I think Snapper is really cool. Actually, I would like to see more of him.
I think they can salvage James. I think they just tried a couple things really fast and then neglected him. They were already, again, at a tough spot with him as well for, we built up this huge relationship with him and Kara, and then they dated for 2 seconds and broke up. And it's just that's not going to be a good place to start the season for him anyway, because in this situation, he's the love interest, right? And that's a tough uphill battle. It's a lot of actually the same situational complaints that we had about Arrow and the way they wrote their romance, and then the uphill battle they create for the love interest in that situation as well, too.
Yep.
Jon-Paul, anything else about Supergirl you want to mention before we move on?
Just some of the same stuff I've mentioned before with Jimmy, that, nothing's worked with him, but if they just steer into that swerve and just keep throwing the most ridiculous scenarios about him out there, that's what he's always had in the comics, is one persona after another, one relationship after another. Turn him into Turtle Boy, turn him into you've got the Guardian already, have failed relationships left and right, keep him around seemingly under the radar like that. But then if they ever want to bring in Apocalypse, Darkseid, any of that type of stuff, the only character of the whole Superman mythos that really had a strong tie to all of that was Jimmy Olsen in the comics. So if they could use Jimmy to tie in the Apocalypse stuff, that'd be a great final place. But don't let us see it coming. Just treat him as the goofball character for a long time, and I think it would work. Just again, steer into it.
Well, I like Jimmy from the comics as the goofball. This James version of him is the total opposite of the goofball, though. I cannot see that happening. I cannot see them getting there with this character.
I know.
And I think when they had those crossovers, and we got to see Kara play opposite of characters like the Flash, and we saw, the exponential goofball factor or the exponential bright factor was actually kind of fun to see. I think they should take a note from that and kind of give more of those characteristics to James. I think they tried too hard at the beginning to give him this sort of, he's the serious, mature one, and Kara's the young, naive one, you know what I mean? And they tried to do that, I think, for the sake of their romance, and they can do a goofball, silly partner romance if they need them to be romantic interests, and still give him those characteristics that make him, as a standalone character, fun to watch on screen.
And Jon-Paul, that's how they could do it. If they have a Jimmy in a parallel, one of the other Earths, who could be total goofball, that would be awesome to see.
There you go.
And I bet the actor would love to do that too.
Yeah, and have him go by Jimmy. He's not James. Yeah. He's Jimmy. Yeah. That would work.
That would be great. I would love to see that. In the chat, Lister's man, I think he's talking about Snapper here, but he says something else that needs to happen is Kara's boss needs to lighten up and stop being such a dull asshole. Okay. I'm assuming that's Snapper. I mean, he is her boss, really, on at least on the reporting side. So.
Yeah.
I mean, he is. You know what? But I don't know. Snapper also grew me, because that's just the way he is, right? And he's trying to help her, really, and even though he's kind of gruff about it, but.
It's the same situation with Kat, where you have to have Supergirl playing opposite somebody who's a bit tough and firm with her, so that we can see her be kind of bright and idealistic in contrast and still kind of root for her. We have to see her go up against formidable social foes as well as literal villains. And having a firm, non-nurturing, non-parental boss serves that interest, I think.
That's a great point. All right, so that was Supergirl, folks. Again, you can keep chatting there in the YouTube live chat, or tweet us at SuperGeekedUp. If you're watching in post, you can comment on YouTube or tweet us as well. All right, so we got 2 more shows to talk about. Legends of Tomorrow, Flash. So let's, Mark said actually, I'm going to run to get some water, not because I hate Legends. I will be back.
You're boycotting this section of the show.
It's I'll come back in 10 minutes. No, I'll be right back. But Mark's take it away with Legends.
All right. So they're not heroes. They're legends, and So this season, there's been some information about what's going to happen this season. I know that they have. Apparently broken time to an extent. So there's people, animals, and objects all across time. and Rip Hunter has created a time bureau. So there's a bit of conflict there, and eventually the characters band together, as they always do when they're told not to, and challenge the Time Bureau's authority over the timeline and try to fix stuff. So I know that it sounds like Vixen. It's going to be pretty heavy this season.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
She was great. Yeah, she was great. She was a fantastic addition this past season, and it sounds like they're trying to get all three, both the current Vixen, that Vixen, and then the granddaughter, who's the bad guy, all in one episode. I mean, we know they're all going to be there in some way or another, but that would be fantastic if we have a very Vixen-centric episode or two.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. She was one of the actress who plays Vixen on Legends of Tomorrow was one of the actors who was at DragonCon, and she was on some of the panels, and she had a lot of sort of fun things to say about what's upcoming and what she sort of hopes for her character and for the rest of the women on the show, is that they get to work together and that there's more sort of fun female team-ups on the show as well, similar to a lot of the comments like Willa was making about Arrow. And yeah, just some Vixen-centric storylines, not just her helping somebody else's storyline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to see what they do there. So another thing is that apparently Damon Dark is back again.
Yeah.
And apparently this time he's not just plucked out of time. This is after Damien Dark died. So somehow he's, I don't know, resurrected or who knows what happens. Flashpoint, who knows?
Yeah.
So what do you guys, plus there's his daughter is going to be in at least one episode, played by Brandon Roost's wife, actually. So yeah. So you guys think about that? Do you guys like Damien Dark? I know some people don't, some people do.
He was a fun villain on Arrow. He wasn't, I just to be honest, he wasn't the best villain on Arrow, but I have a feeling that in the tone of Legends, he might actually do better, just because he does carry this sort of otherworldly, timeless vibe to him that didn't necessarily carry weight on Arrow, but on Flash, I think it could be. And I think that the actor would do well with that sort of timeless vibe if he does need to play a villain in different times. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I will say, I would agree. He was not the best villain on Arrow. In fact, I'd go so far as to say he was my least favorite character villain side ever on the show, and it didn't help that it was and it didn't help.
Oh, he's the worst.
The least successful season was his as well.
I tried to say it nicely.
Yeah, I'm just there. He was bad. However, and when I heard he was added,
the actor I like.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I heard he was added to the second season of Legends, where the first season was really weak, I was like, oh no, what are they doing? And he was so fantastic. Him and John Barrowman working off of each other were such an incredible pair on screen. The episode that starts out with "My name is Damien Dark," and they redo the opening similar to the way you do "My name is Oliver Queen" and Barry Allen.
Yeah, that was clever. Yeah,
I loved everything about Damien Dark on Legends, to the same extent that I hated him over on Arrow. I loved him that much on Legends, so I'm looking forward to him coming back.
That was the episode where we got to see like the other timeline version of villain Felicity, right? For like 30 seconds. You know what I'm talking about?
So.
She was in a getup that almost looks similar to Comic Book Huntress.
Yeah. She was actually like a hero in that thing, right? Because
Yeah. She was like, but everybody else had turned into a villainess, right? Right. Sarah and the rest. Yeah, that was what was going on.
Real
Yeah.
In the chat, so Carrie Johnson says, Legends. I know I'm in the minority, but I have the most fun watching this show. Love it. You're actually not in the minority tonight, folks, because other people do like it. Like Jon-Paul. I think I'm in the minority tonight. Eros Orocho, Eros, thank you for watching. He just joined us in the chat, and he says, any characters you would like to see join Legends? Ooh. Not any that I like, because that's where they go to die.
Oh,
wow.
Mark, see, you always act like I'm the one, but you always you say the same thing to me, at least off air. You're like, that's where they throw the
I don't know
characters.
what you're talking about.
The
Is Mike live?
CW rechecks.
Well, he'd be redundant, so he couldn't join as a permanent member. But I'd love to see Booster Gold make an appearance on the show. I think
love
it's
Booster Gold. He'd be
yeah, it's a perfect show for him to make an appearance between the time travel and Rip Hunter and all the rest. He'd be great, but he'd be redundant on there because of Ray and Nate. Yeah, you can't have a third one.
Right.
Yeah. That's tricky. I'm not sure.
Cammie, any characters you'd like to see on Legends?
So first of all, I'm with Jeff, where I don't track this show quite as closely as I do the others, but one that I had always hoped would show up on Legends was, okay, so you know how they're incorporating the whole, like, Connor Hawk thing, which is sort of Diggle's son thing. You know what I'm talking about? Okay?
Yep.
And how Barry had to turn Diggle's daughter into Diggle's son to make that happen?
Yeah.
I would rather it be Diggle's daughter. I would love to see like a grown-up superhero version of Baby Sarah on Legends, and that could be in addition to the Connor Hawk John situation. You know, give him a twin, give him another universe, have him come face to face with this other version of himself. You know what I mean? That he's replaced. But I would have loved to see Baby Sarah grow up and be a character, like a grown-up character in this universe, and I think Legends is the only place where that could happen, and that would have been really fun, I think, for, you know, Arrow, Flash, Legends, all of them. I think that it would have been a good integration, and I mean, it's still possible. It's just, it seemed they moved away from that, and I was a little bit sad to see that.
Yeah,
It's possible.
That would be super cool, I agree.
Yeah.
But it's a good idea, so
Flashpoint.
they're not going to do it.
Flashpoint and them breaking time, you know, somehow she could have snuck through and they find her.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
there's always a way if they wanted to, but...
Yeah. I don't know who else. Huntress, if they'll bring her back.
No! Dude! They would destroy that character. Stop it.
More Nissa and Sarah. I'll throw that in as something I want to.
I would like to see this.
yeah.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, Raisa on her web on sci-fi-pulse.net had mentioned before how she wished we could see more about how Damien Dark and Ra's al Ghul were clashing, because that they built that up and they've never ever shown it in flashbacks, and that might be a good way to bring back Ra's al Ghul if somehow they could show that through Legends of Tomorrow. So
Yeah.
and I like Ra's al Ghul. He was an interesting character when they had him.
He made an appearance one time, right, last season, when Sarah was going back in time. In Legends.
Yeah, I think.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Well, more. We need more of that.
That was a goal.
And KG Beast, because you love his name, Jeff.
Oh, Jesus. KG Beast.
He's
You're not
there.
getting him, man.
He's there a bunch on Arrow.
He'll still
Sort
be
of.
there.
Yeah, sort of.
All right, any other Legends stuff? To
They did say Gorilla Grodd's supposed to make an appearance, so that's be cool.
Your favorite talking gorilla.
Yes.
He is my favorite
Yeah.
talking gorilla.
Actually, it's
I
the
don't know if I
one
wanna see
show
the
where they could do.
Legends.
It's the one place they could do the fun storyline, though, because they always seem to, anytime he makes an appearance somewhere, have the storyline of him turning other people into gorillas.
Right.
Turn all the legends into gorillas for one episode. Yeah, in costume, doing their
Animatronics.
thing. Yeah.
Can we just keep them as gorillas and then just end the show? Well, all right, Jon-Paul, let me ask you this. So my problem is the show doesn't make a lick of sense, and like the writing is just all over the place. The character and I'm okay. Like, dude, I do a kind of a goofy comedy superhero series myself, but like the fact that it's so goofy, and I don't think they treat the characters with any respect, that I can't get behind any of the characters because there's no consistency. They're all over the place. They didn't keep the characters consistent from the previous shows they were on, right? So like, if you're gonna have fun, that's cool, but I need to get behind the characters still and care about them, and I don't think they provide anything they do that. They're just like, we want to do whatever the hell we want. We don't care if it makes sense. We're just gonna throw it out there, and who cares, guys? Like, that's how it comes across to me. But why do you? I want to just say, why do you like it?
Yeah. because I'm such a DC fan for so long, their entire history back to 1938, everything, the show feels like a love letter to old DC fans. Some of that goofiness, if you go back to stories from the early 40s, the early JSA stories, that's where you originally got like Per Degaton, which was in season 1, the JSA and all that. Those stories, because of the time and who they're writing for, the 9 and 10-year-old, pre-adolescent boys, they didn't have these long drawn-out stories, not a lot of thought behind them. They could change characters' personalities week to week or month to month. They just came up with what was a cool story and presented it. And that, to me, that is a little bit of what they did this past season with the Spear of Destiny, where they broke it up into individual pieces, literally, and the story into individual pieces. That's the way they always tackled stuff in the old JSA stories. The time travel stuff with Per Degaton, I'm still hoping they bring him back and make him a bigger part of it.
What's that guy's name? It just sounds like you're saying Megatron to me. What is his name?
It was Per Degaton. He was the one that Vandal Savage was teaching as a kid, who killed his own father.
Oh, yes. I know.
See, his original story was he was a janitor who came across time travel devices, and he was in the Nazi Germany, and he used time travel to take over the entire world and changed everything. And the JSA had to undo it, and they did. And when they undid it, poof, he's back as a janitor and doesn't remember a thing. It's that whole Dallas.
And the lesson is, you don't name your kids that name, because they will just it's not going to turn out well.
Yeah.
Per Degatron, right? That's terrible.
The moral.
But I mean, this was Nazi.
You name him that.
But this was Nazi Germany. That was what it was all based on. Now that when you could hate the villain, nobody ever had a problem hating the Nazis. In World War II. So it's hard to hate villains these days. Everybody has to have a reason. You have to understand them.
So many redemption arcs.
Yeah. And so there's.
No, I like understanding the villain. That makes them more. I think it's better when you can empathize with and understand them. Actually,
it can be, but every so often it's fun to just throw it out there, and immediately, because they're wearing the swastika, they're the bad guy. Fight them, defeat them, right. Move on to next week. Mm-hmm. And so again, that's part of that love letter to the old DC stuff. The Booster and Beetle connection with Ray and Nate. So many different characters, and then you got so many good actors. I mean, Professor Stein, he's,
he sings really well too.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I just had to make that. You remember talking about, right?
I love that Victor Garber, right? I love him from Alias, man. I'm a big fan of his.
Oh yeah, Alias.
Awesome. And he does sing very well, like on the musical crossover. Mm-hmm. But I think you're referencing that scene I freaking hate on Legends, which is like the Deo scene. I couldn't even watch it. It was so painful.
I don't know.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah. But no, thank you for sharing that, Jon-Paul. I get like where you're coming from. Yeah. That's good to hear. Like that's why you like it. Like I said, I like hearing other people's thoughts. So
I do feel like it is when you take the most craziest elements of comic books, we're just having a fun time, crossovers and craziness, and that's Legends captures that well. So it doesn't jive real well with the vibes of the other shows.
Right.
But if you turn off your mind and try not to think about the other ones and just watch it, it can be entertaining little ride. It reminds me of, and sometimes some Doctor Who episodes too are just like it's wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey. Let's run and do some fun stuff. And
the thing that people may resent it for or dislike it for is the same thing that people do like it for, which is its distance from the rules of the other shows. The other shows all have quite strict rules when it comes to time. Barry gets away with a lot of stuff, but there's at least some rules, right? Arrow, Supergirl as well, and Legends, they're kind of free to do whatever they want, and you just kind of have to shut off the fact that it's supposedly in the same ish universe as the rest of them.
Yeah.
Let me share some stuff here from the chat about Legends. Well, first off, I had actually asked people if they like our new streaming format here, and Eros says, I like it. The Hunter's Realm seal of approval. That's his Twitter name. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Now, let's see here. Eros also says that about characters he'd like to see on Legends. He'd like to see Donna Troy and maybe Red Hood and the Outlaws. That'd be cool. Done with that.
Oh,
And then
cool.
Kerry Johnson says something I totally agree with. He'd like to see more of the hologram Gideon interact with the crew. So that was my favorite part about last season. And by the way, her and Rip, dude, I'm so shipped that, man. Like, I want her and Rip together. Like, that's the only thing I care about with Legends. And if I just want the show to be Gideon and Rip, and like forget about everybody else. I thought that was great, though, man. I really like seeing her in that physical form. We actually finally get to see.
Yeah.
I bet you did, Jeff. No, I'm teasing.
But no, you know, I've always liked Gideon, and you have too. Like, I think she does a good job, that actress.
Yeah, it was
No,
cool.
I think especially for a show like Legends, where it's so easy to see it as disconnected from rules, disconnected from reality. There has to be ships or connections or something like that to humanize these characters and remind us that they do have weaknesses, because they are kind of given a bit of a god card with the premise of the show, and having weaknesses, having connections, having things or people that they care about is really important. And of course that's the case for any superhero show. You know, like, we wouldn't care about Oliver Queen even if he didn't love somebody or care about some people, whether that be his family, his team, his love interest, whatever. And same for Barry, Supergirl, whatever. It's just especially important, I think, for Legends to see them as human in some way.
And you're right, they didn't do everything perfect. You know, they missed plenty, but the things they did right. I never liked Sarah before the show. I thought Sarah was just such a boring character, and I love her on Legends. She has stepped up and has become such a good leader. And Mick was so one-dimensional before this. The only reason you liked him on screen was because he brought along Captain Cold.
Right.
By himself, he's become the strongest character on there from a character development standpoint. So the stuff they've done right, have done really well.
I'm pretty sure that he's the writer's favorite. So I think I've read a few interviews where they.
Mick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that Mick's really cool. It's funny, we have totally opposite views though. Like, I loved Sarah on Arrow, and I thought she was great, and I thought they've destroyed her. Not destroyed her, but I thought they've done a bad thing with her on Legends, and they got away.
They've definitely changed her. She's another one that I would say, same as Ray, that they tried to introduce both Ray and Sarah on Arrow, and I think that backfired, where to put them on Legends, they had to basically reintroduce them, rewrite them, and everything that they characterized them as on Arrow was reset and for nothing. Now, if you liked them before, you probably don't like them on Legends. If you didn't like them before, you probably do like them on Legends. So.
Right. Yeah. I still like Sarah, but like, I loved her on Arrow, man. She was great.
And the writers often reference their characters as a group of misfits. So I think they, coming out of the gate, they see them as a sort of that they're going to make a lot of mistakes, and that's part of what drives the drama and stuff and comedy. And that's not what we're used to with a lot of these characters from they were more capable people, and whenever they were in Arrow or other shows. You know, Sarah was quite independent, strong assassin woman. And Ray Palmer wasn't a good fighter, but he was a very intelligent person, and you know, it was kind of a clash of whenever they went to Legends. So I suspect if somebody started watching those characters in Legends right out of the gate, they would like them a lot more.
Yeah,
probably.
That makes sense.
But they have dinosaurs in Legends, so that's all that matters.
Well, that's actually, Listen in the chat says they need to explain the little CGI velociraptors running around last season's cliffhanger. Well, the idea is right that like they fucked up basically time so much that everything just kind of came together, right? All these different time periods just.
I think so. Yeah.
I wish they would just stop calling themselves Legends, because they're not. They're just complete incompetent. What they're doing.
I don't know. You could become a legend all sorts of ways, Jeff.
That sounds true. That's a good point.
But it does show. But also, we were talking about how they're breaking all the rules in time travel, and like Flash, well, now they're showing us a consequence, so that's a good thing. So
yeah,
it could be really fun
on the Flash.
Okay.
Really?
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about the Flash in just a few minutes. But that's good. I mean, look, that's the thing. You know, like all of us have different tastes, so it's cool that there's all these different shows, right? So that's awesome. That obviously, Jon-Paul, you love it, and you know, it's not my thing, but that's cool. So all right, so we do have the Flash to talk about, but I also actually forgot. Let's do a little. We want to talk about a couple cons here, because again, we've been to a couple of cons since we did our last DC Action Hour show. Before Dragon Con, we were just at that, Cammie, Jon-Paul, and I. But Marks and I, in July, went to San Diego Comic-Con. So let's just do a quick recap of that. So it was actually my 5th year there, but it was Marks' first year. So Marks, you're the first-year goer to San Diego Comic-Con. What'd you think?
It was pretty awesome.
As we talk, folks, I'm going to on the screen here, I'm going to share some pictures from the con there. You can take a look at that.
It's pretty awesome. It was a lot larger than conventions I'm used to. I got to see a lot of great stuff in Hall H. Got to experience a lot of great stuff. The augmented reality type of game we played, the shooting game. I can't remember the name right now.
Recoil.
Yeah, Recoil. That was a lot of fun too, and I really like how there's all this stuff to do both inside and outside. The convention hall is huge. You can explore it for days, and it was a great convention. So, and our panel was great. The role playing game panel was great. Lots of great questions. Lots of people there, and the Super Geeked Up live performance was a lot of fun.
Awesome, yes. Thank you, people who came out. Like, both those panels were awesome. We had a ton of fun with you guys. If you're watching the stream right now, folks, in the lower right is the shot of us in Recoil. They bill it as like laser tag meets Pokemon Go. It was a lot of fun.
So cool.
I think we won both our times. I think our teams won both times when we played.
Yep.
And there's some other pictures you can check out, folks. My favorite is in the upper right of your screen right now. It's actually, these guys did the entire Scooby-Doo gang plus one of the villains from Scooby-Doo. It was, oh my God, spot on. It was great. All right, back to the main screen here. Yeah, I had a great time. It was actually like probably my favorite time out of the 5 years at Comic-Con so far. And a big part of that was just, like you said, Mark, we had an awesome, like, people who came out audience-wise to our panels. Oh, we did some Fate, the Fate role-playing game system. Mm-hmm. We were teaching people how to play Fate, and those people were awesome too, man. That was super fun.
It was super fun, and it was sort of like improv storytelling in a lot of ways. So,
yes. Yeah, Fate's a system where you kind of make it up very much with the players on the fly, which we did there.
Yeah.
In the chat, Arrow says, I'm bound for Salt Lake Comic-Con in 2 weeks, hoping to meet Merlin, okay, so John Barrowman, and Speedy, Willa Holland, and get a pic with them and Ollie this go-around. Okay, cool. I know he's gotten some pictures with some of the other cast. Cool, man. Have a good time. All right, cool. Anything else you want to mention about San Diego?
I like the city vibe. It was cool, and lots of great restaurants nearby, and definitely recommend it. Although you will be waiting in line for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, and I got cool Tick hats for the Tick TV show. That was cool. The antennas.
You did get the antennas. Because you did the Tick experience, right? Yeah.
Yep.
You know which one I wish I did? Because people said it was awesome. The Blade Runner one. Oh, they said it was so cool. I wish I'd done that.
Yeah. Missed that one.
Cool.
Just
we got
too
to
much
see cool
stuff.
panels though. Like we got to see the Justice League panel, and with all the actors and a bunch of other cool stuff there.
Yeah, and Gal Gadot is very tall.
Yeah, she literally walked like like inches in front of our face as she was going to the stage. Like we had no idea that was happening. It was like, oh my God, that was Gal Gadot. That was amazing.
That's so cool.
Jon-Paul was so amazed he just lost. He's
like, what?
I don't believe it. All right. Well, okay. So let's shift from that to Dragon Con. Again, I will show you guys some pics from there as we discuss it. So it was my first year there, but Cammie, how many years have you been to Dragon Con?
It was my third year, third year, I think. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah,
so
it was really fun.
Any highlights or any? Yeah.
Oh, highlights. The fan panels were so fun this year. We had this great moderator named Jeff. No, I'm kidding. It was really fun, and you were a great moderator. I think all of the hype surrounding Wonder Woman, pretty much regardless of what anybody was talking about, regardless of what the topic of the panel was, it seemed like it always kind of circled around to her, and it was just really fun because, there's been years where, not to open like the Batman versus Superman can of worms, but like last year, that was the big topic of discussion, and it was much more a lot of some negative feelings, and so it was just really fun to be at a con where like everything being discussed was really positive on a lot of the panels, and that was great. It was great to meet everybody, and the cosplay was so fun this year. I'm sure you have pictures up of that.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm trying to readjust the screen now that John.
Oh no, you're fine.
But I will be putting pictures up in 1 second, folks. Because the cosplay is awesome at Dragon Con.
Yeah, it was. It was really fun. There was a lot of Arrow, Flash, Legends cast, etc. Willa Holland was there. Echo Kellum was there. Jessica, who played Prometheus, was there. So a good mix of heroes and villains from Arrow. Daniel Pennebaker from The Flash. His name escapes me, but the actor who played Eddie from The Flash. Jon-Paul Estes Ship.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark, so I actually got to see one of the Flash panels there, so because I know we missed him at Comic-Con, but I got to see a Dragon Con, which was cool.
Yeah. I think I said his name wrong, but he was really cool. The actress who plays Barry's mother, so both Barry's mother and father were there, and that made for some pretty fun, cute moments at the panels, and some Legends people as well. Damien, the actor who plays him, was there, of course, and it was just really fun. It made for some really good panels. Yeah.
You didn't heckle the Legends people, did you, Jeff?
No, dude, come on. I wouldn't do that. First off, that's also why I did a ton of the DC fan panels, but I didn't put myself in any Legends because I didn't want to say anything bad about it, so I deliberately didn't go on those panels.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a great time. Thank you for those kind words. Cammie is an awesome panelist. That's why I asked her on the show, because I had a super fun time with her. And a couple
thank you.
We did Supergirl, I think, and then yes, Supergirl or no? DC Cinematic Universe crossover.
Yeah. I wasn't on Supergirl this year. I was on Supergirl last year. This year I was on the 2 Wonder Woman panels. I was on the Flash panel, DC Cinematic Universe, and DC crossovers, which covered Arrow, Legends, Flash, Supergirl, all that. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, the panels were a lot of fun. I got to do 12 panels on 4 different tracks, so that was a lot of fun. The cosplay lives up to, it's billed as the best cosplay of any kind. It lives up to that. The con lives up to the hype, folks. It was my first year there, but it is really awesome con. I would put San Diego and that are probably my top 2 now. So so it's really
Dragon Con's. I think Dragon Con's my favorite. I did not go this year, but I have gone a few times in the past. It's always been one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And Super Geeked Up, again, thank you, folks. I thank you on Super Geeked Up this past week, but thank you for coming. I was blown away by we had a packed audience. People were standing. We had to turn a bunch of people away because the room was too full. So that was our first year doing it there. So I'm really grateful. Thank you guys for coming out to that. And it was an awesome audience too. We do geeky improv if you haven't watched our show, comedy, and the audience was fantastic. They were perfect for that. They were having a lot of fun.
Dragon Con audiences are always just so fun. They're passionate. They're there to get excited. It's just a very high energy con in that way, which is really fun. It's fun as well for the guest panels as well. The panels where they have cast members from different shows, because you do get a lot of really excited fans or passionate fans or kids with just these really interesting questions, and it's definitely one of the more fun places to do panels and things like that, in my opinion. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, on the DC panels we did, most of the time the audience had tons of comments and questions, which was great. So that was awesome. So, and again, if you're watching, we love hearing comments in the chat or on Twitter, so please feel free to share them. This is also, it's the one con, or one of the few cons that never shuts down, man. There is programming 24 hours a day. And there's people actually out. Most cons, in the evening, forget it. Most people aren't there anymore. But I left, at 2:30 in the morning sometimes, and there's all these people in the hotels just hanging out, having a good time. And I'm what's happening here? It's amazing.
Yeah.
All these people are still here.
Yeah, nobody sleeps. It's constant, and the cosplay is constant too. So you'll see cosplayers change several times throughout the day. So they're gonna have a morning cosplay, an evening cosplay, and a nighttime cosplay. So it gets really crazy, and it's really fun. And
cool. Yeah. So highly recommend Dragon Con, folks. It's always Labor Day weekend in Atlanta. If you want to go. And I hear actually what they tell me is right now tickets are the cheapest you're going to get them for next year. It's right after the
Olympics. So. They always start the cheapest, and then they go up in $5 increments. So right now it's $85 a ticket for the whole weekend, and then it goes up $5 a month and ends up at around $160. So
Compared to a lot of other cons, folks, that's really a bargain for
Oh, yeah.
for this. All right, cool. So hopefully you'll see all of us here at Dragon Con next year.
Yeah.
So March,
Hope so.
We got to do some DC Action Hour there next year, right?
Heck yeah.
All right,
That'd
cool.
be super fun.
Thank you very much, anybody we met at Dragon Con. We had a great time. Loved meeting you. And also next year I'm going to play some Werewolf with Cammie. That's what we said.
Yes. I get really intense about Werewolf. I don't know if anybody watching has played Werewolf. You understand it's like this game with a cult following, but like it's crazy at Dragon Con. Like you can go in the middle of the night and there's still going to be massive circles of people playing this game. It's crazy. It's like a social deduction game where you have to kill each other, basically. Yeah, it's fun. It's a great way to like wind down after a long day of panels, just like deception and murder.
Okay. So it's not World of Darkness Werewolf. It's something else.
Yeah,
No, it's like a social bluffing game. Most people play villagers, and some people play the werewolves. And the werewolves are trying to kill the villagers. The villagers are trying to figure out who are the werewolves.
Wow.
So if you ever played games like, why am I forgetting right now? The Resistance,
Mafia,
stuff like that. Those are also social like bluffing deduction games. Which I love.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is great.
Yeah. It's really fun. We're gonna make Jeff play next year. We're gonna test this friendship.
Yeah, please do. I want to. I wanted to get more gameplay in. I like the very last day of Monday, like before I shut down, I got a little bit in, but
yeah, it's pretty fun.
All right, cool. So that was San Diego Comic-Con, Dragon Con. We had a great time at both. Norbert says in the chat, I just can't stay up all night at a con anymore, but it's great if people do. Oh, and Werewolf is what people play at night at the cons here too. I see it all the time. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Norbert. So I guess in Europe they like playing that too.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. So one more show to talk about, right? And that is The Flash.
Yeah.
All right. So Flash is it's been my favorite show on TV since its debuted. Marcus, I think it's your favorite of the CW shows, right? DC CW, is it?
I think so. It's overall. I mean, the first two seasons of Arrow are pretty awesome, but yeah, overall, at Flash.
Cool. Cammie, actually, what is your favorite of the four shows we've been talking about?
Ooh, that's a tough one. It's so hard to compare them without having like, a block of 5 seasons of each to compare. Consequently, I'd have to go with Arrow, but there's a lot of flaws there too. So that's not me touting Arrow as some sort of flawless show at all. I think my favorite show is what Arrow could be and has been sometimes. Likewise, like Flash has had some really fun moments and could be really fun, but this last season, I mentioned this earlier and I didn't know if it was an unpopular opinion or not. Last season I thought was really weak, so I don't know. Once I have a solid block of 5 seasons of each to compare, then I'll have like an answer I'll be ready to stand behind. But for now, I'll give a tentative Arrow.
Cool. It's my second favorite.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, you know what? So I agree. I like seasons 1 and 2 more of the Flash in the third season, although I still really like the third season. But and they kind of talked about this, I think, at the panel we went to with the actors at Dragon Con about how I think Danielle Pennebaker talked about this at least. That they know it definitely got it was a darker tone for them, and I think she talked about this season they definitely want to get back to that lighter tone for the Flash, which I liked hearing about. Because I think that particularly the first half of the season that was like with depressed Cisco, right, and everybody being pissed at Barry. It was just like that's not why I watched the Flash, guys.
Right.
And I think it kind of then it got in the second half, it kind of found more its footing in the whole thing about trying to save Iris. But so a couple of things. One thing I'm excited about is that, so first off, I love pretty much all versions of Harrison Wells because Tom Cavanaugh is amazing. And they said Earth 2 Harry, which I think he's still my favorite, even though HR was fantastic. But Earth 2 Harry is going to be at least the first and main Harrison Wells this season, they said, which that's awesome because I love him. And so are you guys excited about that?
Yeah.
Earth 2 Harry, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I love the actor, so I'm pretty sure whatever version of Wells we get, or whatever name they assign to it, will be pretty good. Definitely excited for Flash to return to a little bit of a brighter tone. There was having the same death scene replay, like, 20 times in a season got a little old. And you never want to get to the point where, like, the death of a main character is, like, desensitized, but you also don't want to see it 20 times. So I think that format really that's what dragged the show down a bit, is they really just wanted to have, like, that damsel in distress moment, and that's not what the show needed. So hopefully they get back to more, the heroics, the sort of... Flash was always supposed to be the show that was the embracing that cheesy, comic-y nature and running with it and having it be sort of fast-paced, no pun intended. And I hope they get back to that. Having the same sort of moment over and over really defeats the nature of this show being fast-paced. So I hope it goes back to fast-paced and maybe a little more fun. And honestly, the interviews that we've seen, obviously with Danielle and with a lot of the producers, seem to indicate they're going to go that direction. So fingers crossed.
Yes.
What about you guys?
In the chat, Lister's Mate says, are they going to talk about the character who fell in love with Earth 19 Wells? What's her name? The scientist.
Yeah.
What's her name? Anybody remember? The scientist who made the bazooka.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
So help us out in the chat, folks.
I can't remember her name.
It's driving me crazy that I can't think of her name right now.
It was a pretty fast romance as well.
I liked it though. You know what? It just felt right to me.
They were funny together. They were fun. Although there was
it gave him something to lose in the end. You know what I mean? Or something to give up.
Tracy Brand, right?
There we go.
Her name?
Oh yeah.
I just it came to me. I actually didn't have to look it up.
Okay.
Is she still going to be on there, you think?
I don't know. I heard.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in any of them.
If she was hanging around and helping them, though, I liked her.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if she will. At least not first. Maybe they'll bring her back later.
She fits the show pretty well because the show, at one point in time, Barry was a scientist. We haven't heard very much about it lately, but he was this sort of geeky, sciencey genius, and then you had other characters like Cisco and Caitlin who kind of echoed that from different angles, and this character would do so as well, so that would fit pretty well.
Yeah,
we're talking about that in a second with the new villain here that I know Mark's is excited about for season 4.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, though, they were talking about the Earth 2 Harry and how Jesse is the hero on Earth 3, and we've talked about this on the show before, but I still don't understand it. Why is Jesse still on Earth 3 when Jay Garrick is back? Like, it makes no sense. And also, I want more Jesse because I love her.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense either. Not really.
Okay.
Maybe he's training her. Maybe Jay Garrick's training her.
Well, that couldn't possibly make sense.
Maybe, yeah. They decided to swap Earths, make it more interesting. Yeah.
I just think they don't really know how to fit her in, unfortunately, which is too bad because I really like her a lot.
Yeah, they kind of showed that last season because she came back and they're like, her and Wally were like, we kind of like each other. Let's get together. No, never mind. Let's leave.
I think they were really just, with this show in this season, they were kind of floundering in the romance department, because whether we like it or not, romance is kind of a quintessential part of a superhero story. It does, if it's done right, it really attaches us to the hero, right? Superman, Lois Lane, all that, right? And I think they were really floundering in this show, really trying to get a romance to stick, and so they kind of just did, like, every romance. Everybody had a romantic arc, whether you were a hero, whether you were a villain. It's like, you get a love interest, and you get a love interest, and then they just got rid of the ones that didn't stick.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, yeah.
That was my interpretation.
Yeah.
In the live chat, Anthony says, they need to have Tracy Brand on again. She was a great character. They need to talk about how she deals with HR's loss. They're probably not going to do that so much. Well, they'll probably do it a little bit, but they'll probably do it very quickly if they do it at all.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go Legends.
Mark, you gotta stop saying that, man. Dude, I'm gonna like this quit.
That's where everybody ends up.
No, stop.
But when we talk about H.G. with Wells, I would like to... Not H.G. Wells. Sorry. Wells. I would like to see more of him, and I would like to see... I think it would be hilarious to see an episode just focused on him for one episode. Just a little random episode.
On what? Under Earth 2 Harry, or just one of the versions of him?
Any Harry. Multiple Harrys. Let's throw a bunch of them together. League of Harry.
There's got to be a new one. I think they do a new one every season. So at some point, I think they have to do a new Harrison Wells as well.
I hope so.
Norbert says, as a note, the Flash and Gotham are both Tuesday night shows in Germany, but both are pushed to very late time slots after 11 p.m. That's interesting. That's where he is. Norbert's in Germany.
Arrow got pushed to a later time slot this season.
Arrow's on Thursday nights now, right? They moved from Wednesday to Thursday.
And it's an hour later than it has been.
Oh, yes. 9 p.m. now, right?
Yeah.
Is it after Supernatural, or what's it after?
Is it after Supernatural?
I don't. Somebody help us out in the chat. I don't remember how they're doing it now.
I don't know what comes on before it, but I know that it's not one of the other.
Though.
It's not one of the other DC CW shows. Yeah. It'll be later, so there can be more.
It'll be darker,
violence?
more torture.
Darker stuff. What can we get?
Torture. I had enough torture.
More torture.
Yeah. Less clothes, more blood, violence, all that.
Yeah. Arrow's going to move to HBO next season.
Yeah. Game of Thrones who? Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the villain. Now, Marks, I know you were predicting this, so I know you're excited because I think this is who the villain you wanted. And it's been confirmed now. It's going to be the Thinker is the villain.
I thought it would
Flash. Yeah, that's a good prediction, man. You nailed it. And they talked about how it's all been speedsters, and I think this was your point that they wanted to do some non-speedster this time, and the producers build it as the fastest man alive versus the fastest thinker or brain alive or something like that. I forget exactly what they said.
Smartest man alive.
Fastest mind, smartest mind. I don't know, something like that. But you know what I really like? That, like you said, Cammie, that Barry's like super smart, but they've kind of got away from that and focused all on his physical speed, right? And we kind of they just forgot, dude, he's like supposed to be this super, super smart guy, as are Cisco and Caitlin.
Right.
So it'd be nice to actually, if they show Barry using his mind to solve things rather than just his speed. That's not what makes Barry Allen a hero, just his speed. I don't feel it needs to be,
Yeah, that's kind of what set this whole team apart from the other superhero shows. Is it wasn't just the speed; it was the fact that that whole original trio that we had, Barry, Caitlin, and Cisco, were all like these geniuses in their own way, and that kind of made them really fun and made them a different type of hero from the type of hero that we see on like Team Arrow or Team Legends, right? And they really got away from that. I think the more they separated Barry from sort of his original team and got into a lot more of the drama, a lot more of Barry as the loner, a lot more of Barry, and he was competing with others to see, am I really the fastest man alive? And that was the focus. We lost a little bit of his character traits there because he just became about speed. I don't know. I'm excited to see him return to being the smart guy and hopefully surrounded by his smart team, and we get that sort of team of thinkers against a villainy thinker.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Marks?
Yeah, I think that would be a great change to see that. So, I mean, this is the MacGyver group versus Arrow's Law and Order SVU tone. so that they use their brain, they use science, the power of science to solve things, and more often just running. So I think it'll be a good test this season to see if they can find a villain who's super intelligent rather than super fast, and probably won't be some secret identity we have to uncover like they have done last 2 seasons.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to write, right? To have the dialogue that's going to be coming from the smartest guy alive, that has to set up for some fun writing, which should be cool to see. Some one-liners. Yeah.
For sure. I was just thinking, I realized that he's on Arrow, that it'd be cool though if Michael Emerson was Caden James from Helix, but then he turned out to actually be the Thinker. And then it was kind of crossover between the 2 shows. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I mean, it would set it up for a crossover eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be cool. I don't know if that's going to happen, though. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Well, we'll see. Yeah, occasionally we make correct predictions. So I was reading online about the Thinker because I wasn't really too familiar with him. Apparently there's been 4 versions of him in the comics. And apparently, at least the original version, which is from the 30s, I guess, he has this thinking cap, which gives him these mental, telepathic powers. Is that right, Marks?
I think so. Enhances his mind, and Yeah.
Cool.
There's different versions. Some have psychic powers. Some are just super intelligent.
I'll be interested to see which version they go with.
Mm-hmm. If they make it like a meta thing or a techie thing or a innate thing, yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be interesting. All right, so what do you got? What about Killer Frost, Caitlin Snow? What do you got?
I love her.
Danielle had some interesting things to say about her too at the panel. Danielle Pennebaker. But yeah, do you love Killer Frost, Cammie?
I do, and I I'm partial because I always love a good female villain. It's like, take me on your team, let me join you, right? But I thought Killer Frost was so great this season because she could kind of be, again, the voice of the Barry critics. She got to come in with some tough love for Barry, some things he doesn't often get to hear, with dissenting opinions about his choices. But then in the end, we still see her like her reaction to Savitar, who she knows as Barry. We still see that innate loyalty that Caitlin has to Barry, and that's really heartwarming in a dark way to see the two villains pair up because they knew each other as heroes. It felt like one of the most Flash DNA moments, right? Where you really get to see what kind of brings heroes together in how we saw the villains come together. I thought she was great. I thought visually it was really fun to watch her. That kind of character can really easily go quite cheesy, but the icy vibe, no pun intended, again, was really fun. And these writers got a chance to write that sort of smart, snappy, villainy dialogue for her. Those one-liners and stuff were really fun. And Danielle, I think, did a great job with it. She was really fun at the con. It was funny at the panel. Jeff and I were both watching. It was like every single question that came through the line was for her. Everybody just wanted to talk to her. It was so cute because she's very charming in person.
She is. And then Cammie actually asked the question for all of them, but nobody else answered it.
I did. I tried to talk from the softball because everybody was asking her questions, and it's like, I get it. She's my fave too, but let me toss one out everybody can answer, and they didn't. They went off on some tangent about how Flash is going to be brighter, and it's that's nice, but also.
What was your question?
What was it, Jeff? What did I ask?
I think it was you should come on Arrow Squad and DC Action Hour. I'm just kidding. That's what I would have.
No, I didn't. I think I asked something about what type of villain they might want to go up against, or say who they would want to, who in the CW DC universe would they want to have on their team in a fight. It was some easy, cutesy question, and they just got sidetracked by the other thing I said and went off on. It was cute. Yeah.
Somebody asked her, though, Danielle Pennebaker, about kind of why, when she's Killer Frost, kind of it changes who she is, or something to that effect, which we've talked about on this show. And she actually said, she wishes she knew that, too, and she's asked the writers about that, and she kind of wants a much better answer, too, is at least what she said.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the only problem we've had, right? I think, Mark, is that kind of
Yeah, they never really explain why she's a meta, her powers make her evil. They foreshadowed that with another person getting powers via the whole Flashpoint alchemy deal, and that person turned crazy. But besides that element, there's been no real relation. We don't see metahumans just turn evil or go crazy all of a sudden. And now she did die. She could have had some brain injury. Who knows?
Yeah.
But they never explained it.
I mean, one of my theories, which I don't think really is right, but is that she saw the Earth 2 Killer Frost be so evil that she was afraid if she gets those powers, I'm going to become like her, right? And it's almost like one of my theories is almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. She convinced herself in her mind, this is what's going to happen to me if I get those powers. So the way she kind of did it to herself psychologically. That's one of my theories. I don't know if that really if that's true or that's.
I don't think they would automatically turn homicidal killer, though.
I know. Yeah. But look, I'm trying to come up with some reason.
I know. I think it's thematically there is a reason. Heckle, Dr. Heckle, Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll,
Mr. Hyde.
Yes. I need some more coffee or something. they wanted to do that, and so that makes sense. But she'll be more interesting now that she's got the powers and she has a temptation to be kind of evil, but she's also trying to be good, and it'll make her a really interesting character, I think. She's always been a good character overall, or a fun character, but she has lacked some story arc elements to her character, except for her fiance who died.
They keep doing the CW thing with her. They put her through like a series of romances, and it's like none of them stick.
Yeah. So I think this is a good element to add some depth to her to explore. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I think this is probably the best season for her, actually, because she got to do those dual roles, and it wasn't about the romance for her.
She did have romance with whatchamacallit. Whose name I forget now.
That freaking Julian, I forgot.
Yeah, you don't like Julian.
Yeah.
I heard he's going to
Legends.
Legends.
He grew on me a little bit, but he doesn't need to be there. Go over to Legends. That's fine. You sent him to Legends.
I just now got that. Okay.
But yeah, no, I really liked her as Killer Frost, and it was fun to see her in those two roles. And the costume rocked, man. Like, I love what they did with her costume this season.
Yeah.
Killer Frost.
I cosplayed her last year at DragonCon, like her original costume.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was really fun, but I really want to cosplay like her new costume or whatever they upgrade her to. 'Cause she just has such a cool look to her, and I think with this show, and this is my very biased opinion because she is my favorite character, so I don't know if it really comes across this way to others, but because there's the Flash, and that's kind of like fast, and he heats up when he goes, there's that whole thing. She feels very much like the antithesis of that, and I know that Killer Frost is going to become an anti-hero, not a villain. They've kind of foreshadowed that, and it's not a full proper redemption arc. It is I think going to be an anti-hero, but I think that there's so much they can play with there with her as Killer Frost / Caitlin Snow and Barry Allen / The Flash. I feel like that as sort of an ultimate head-to-head, whether that be as a clash or as begrudging partners, that's a really fun team up for me. But I'm very biased on that because I love that character.
Well, I'd be totally for that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else about the Flash for this coming season you guys want to chat about?
I want to see a Gorilla Grodd King Shark Cheetah team up. Call them the Legion of Zoo.
Oh, get out of here.
Oh.
Before you said that, I was okay with it.
Legion of Zoo.
You're lucky, Cammie. Usually he has all these terrible puns he does in the show, and he's actually been really good today, probably because you're here.
I don't want to laugh at it, but then I do, and then I resent myself for laughing at it. That's the problem.
No, that just encourages him to do more. You know what, dude? Cheetah would be cool, though, man. If they're not going to Cheetah either in Wonder Woman movie or in one of these shows, I'd be down with that. We haven't seen that, right? At all.
Yep.
All right, cool. So I guess we've covered everything. That was a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I know this is kind of a supersized episode here, folks, because we had so much to talk about. And hey, it's been a few months since we've done a show, so we try to get it all in. Thank you for hanging with us. If you watched the whole thing, or if you just watched a little bit, we love that too. Jon-Paul Estes, he did message me. He did lose power. So, but thank you for being on. He's still safe, I think. So hopefully everything's fine with the hurricane. Let me put up his screen here with all his links, though. He does the Old Titans podcast. You can catch him at Old Titans on Twitter, or Spreaker.com/Old Titans is where you can find his podcast. Please check that out. And then Cammie, again, why don't you tell people where they can find you and the show you do?
Yeah, if you want to find just me, I'm at Cammien Ray on Twitter, and I do live tweets and live shows and all that sort of stuff. But if you want to find me and my co-host Martin the Flash on Arrow Squad, you can go to arrowsquad.com, and we review the Flash every week, and it's pretty fun. So you can find me there.
Awesome. Check it out.
Did I say the Flash? I meant Arrow.
Yeah, I was actually wondering, did they just change the show? What?
No, we review Arrow. It's just like you just said the Flash, so it's still stuck in my mind, and I can only transition so fast. But we actually review Arrow, and I do not review the Flash. But if you want to talk to me about the Flash, you can find me on Twitter. I sure live tweet it.
Yeah. And I'm sure with the crossovers, you might talk about the Flash sometimes.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we usually, because there's in that same network, there's shows that review Legends, Supergirl, Flash, and we all kind of get together for crossovers. It's pretty fun.
Sweet. Listeners Mate says, thank you for having Cammie and Jon-Paul on. Of course, thank them for being on. And actually, folks, we want to have, I met a lot of cool people at DragonCon, so we want to have more guests on this season on our show, because this is only our second season doing this show. And we would love to have these Cammie back and Jon-Paul, as well in the future. Norbert says, yes, the Flash and Arrow Squad makes sense, smiley face.
I tried.
Okay, Marks, I got your screen up there about GenreTainment. Why don't you tell people about that?
Yeah, you can find me over at markspile.com, where you can listen to episodes of GenreTainment, which is a podcast I co-host where we interview different writers, actors, all sorts of folks. And also keep up with any of my writing projects or whatever I'm doing. Plus, on Twitter, I'm over at Mr. Marks, so feel free to tweet at me over there. Tweet a few tweets.
Folks, of course, folks, I'm at supergeekedup.com. If this is the first time watching, I have a bunch of stuff up there. We have this show, DC Action Hour. We do Super Geeked Up Wednesday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern. That's our geeky chat and improv comedy show that we did at DragonCon. We always have a lot of fun. And tomorrow night, Monday, Marks and I are part of Monday Night Mayhem, which is our role-playing game show. We're going to be with little Dungeons and Dragons. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We play other role-playing games as well on that show. And we'll be using this new format, which I'm excited about. And you can, of course, chat with us there. Chat with us on all these shows. We do every show live that we do. And I do a series called Super Knocked Up, which is actually a scripted comedy that's on Amazon about a supervillain who gets knocked up by her superhero nemesis. You don't want to see that on Arrow. Maybe you will. I don't know. But we do a comedic take on it. So you can check out 2 seasons for free on Amazon. You don't need to be an Amazon Prime subscriber. Anybody can watch it for free. There's a link right on the homepage of supergeekedup.com. If you like this show, folks, please subscribe to us on YouTube. We're Super Geeked Up on YouTube. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/supergeekedup. All this stuff is on our website as well. We really appreciate your support. And again, that's how I was able to do this new streaming format and try to improve the show. So big thanks to Cammie and Jon-Paul. Thank you for being awesome guests. You were super fun.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. So we'll actually, October 15th is when we're going to be back with this show, because that's we do it Sundays, and that's right after the first week of all the shows premiere on the CW. So folks, just a little bit over a month, and we'll be back with you every week, at least the weeks that the shows do new episodes, excuse me. We'll be chatting about all the new episodes. We'll check about Black Lightning come like January onwards when that show debuts, and all that fun stuff. All right, thank you guys for watching. We had a lot of fun talking to you. And again, if you're watching in post, feel free to keep tweeting at us or comment in the YouTube section. We'll see you in about a month, or hopefully we'll see some of you Monday and Wednesday for our other shows. Thank you so much for watching, folks. Stay geeky. We'll see you soon. Bye.